Straight talk. Oh my god.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
I didn't know you. I thought it's usually me that introduces the street talk.
You
did
always
it so
take
well,
charge. You always take charge, and I have to just sit. And I'm like I'm not even the co-host. I'm like the guest star.
You are. Yeah. Well, let me.
What?
I don't know, because I feel I don't know what to do now, because I've
Exactly.
got my lovely clickbait headlines that I need to share with you for this week. Only a couple this week, I have to say. It wasn't so good with the Corrie clickbait this week. Come on, journos.
Do you think we're intimidating them into stopping?
Maybe we're making them change their ways. Okay, look, I got one from the Daily Mail here, Gemma.
Yeah.
Stunned Coronation Street fans ask, how has this never been explained, as they spot something very wrong with iconic Rovers pub.
It's going to be something to do with the layout.
Yes.
Is it to do with the toilets?
No.
Is it to do with the garden?
No. It's not actually.
Oh, is it to do with the
anything.
windows?
Yeah, it is the windows.
Was this just random thoughts?
Yes, it was. Lovely, just random thoughts on Twitter.
I do like that account.
Posted. What's going on? Why is there two windows? And this was the big change that they made when they moved to Media City 10 odd years ago.
Because everything was bigger. Everything was made bigger.
Yeah.
And so it looked weird without having
a second window there. But it was never explained on the show.
No.
But yeah, the Just Random Thoughts Twitter account decided to post it this week. And because the Daily Mail has got nothing better to do, they picked up on it and made an article about it.
Well, they do that, don't they?
They do that, don't they? Yeah. Now, second one, Bolton News, Gemma. So I need a character name for this one. Play along at home, listeners. Coronation Street fans slam annoying and sanctimonious character on the ITV show. Who are they talking about?
Is it me?
No.
So I get that a lot.
You're not on an ITV show.
I do get told that a lot.
Who is an annoying and sanctimonious character on Coronation Street?
Who's been in it this week?
I don't know, actually. I can't remember whether they've been in it this week. They possibly haven't, actually.
Because I know a lot of people find Toya annoying and sanctimonious.
Yeah, I know. No, I was not talking about Toya. But you're not along the wrong lines. It's not Leanne. But who could it be?
It's not Evelyn.
No.
Who is it then? Give me a clue. Life's too short.
Similar kind of age range to Toya, maybe a bit younger.
No, more clue.
It's a girl.
Yeah, women. Have you noticed that? It's always women. Have you noticed that? It's funny, isn't it? How strange is that? We get taught we have to care about people's feelings, but if we do it too much, we're annoying and sanctimonious.
Not too long ago, they returned for a bit of an absence from Coronation.
It's not Evelyn.
Street. No.
Who returned from a bit of an absence?
Yes.
No, you have to give me another clue.
Who
could it be? What, Nina?
No.
Who's come back?
She's come back
Mary,
she's come back from having a little bit of a time away in a different country to do a bit of learning of some sort for a new career move.
It's not Bethany.
No, it's Alia. It's Alia.
Oh yeah, Alia is annoying and sanctimonious. Yeah.
How could you not get that? I thought that was really easy. I don't even know what it was about. I didn't read the article. I just clicked into it and people were moaning at Alia.
Was it to do with the menu?
Could have been. Anyway.
She's so sanctimonious she won't allow them to sell fries.
Must do better next time, Coronation Street clickbaiters. We have got 7 storylines for you this week. We're going to be starting off with, of course, the Rob on the Run storyline, which I thought was my highlight of the week for this week, absolutely sure. And I've seen really mixed opinions on it this week. So some people have said this is absolutely ridiculous. I hate it. This isn't Corrie. You know, I totally get that as well. You know, he's got a gun. He's running around after having an operation when he clearly couldn't, and there's an awful lot
he
here.
Did say out. He said
there's an awful lot here that doesn't really work, but I honestly have been proper gripped by this, and I think Mark Bayliss has been absolutely fantastic in his performance. I went on to I was on the Coronation Street YouTube channel yesterday, I think it was, and I noticed that they had a trailer for this story, which they also called Rob on the Run. I didn't get it from them, but it's not the most difficult of storyline titles to come up with. So I do have an alternate.
Go on then.
Yeah, so he's on the run. What are the police doing?
Chasing.
Yeah, chasing Donovan.
That's better. That's brilliant.
There we go.
That's the best one you've ever done.
Oh, thanks.
What do you think, everybody?
Okay, Dee-Dee Up the Duff
That's
is
brilliant.
next, followed by Cassie's misbehaviour in plumbing the depths.
I'm going to bask in the reflective glow of that.
I'm glad you enjoyed that one.
Amazing
one. Carpe Diem is next, and still very, very sad about what's going on with Julie, but still enjoying the scenes because Katie Kavanagh is an absolute gem who shouldn't be killed off. What were you owing about?
I've got a joke which is not related to anything to do with Coronation Street, but the builder told it to me today.
Yeah, it better be good to interrupt
and I said my husband will love this.
Page.
And he said children love it, so you might better use it at work.
Use it at work, go on. It's comic relief tomorrow as well.
Because I told him why pirates have an eye patch, and it was a true fact. It wasn't a joke. And he said to me in return, why are pirates called pirates?
Yeah.
Because they are.
Have you not heard that one before? I think I've heard that one. I mean, sorry, Bill, but you can do better than that. Why do pirates have an eye patch?
Because when you go from a dark place to a light place, it's really hard to adjust your vision.
Yeah.
So what they would do is they put their eye patch on one eye when they're under the deck, and then when they came up, they'd swap it over.
Oh, that's a good
so they didn't have to adjust their eyesight.
Very good.
Because we were both complaining about how bright the decking is, because that's what my life is now, sitting around complaining about how bright the wood is in my garden.
I've also got the Dylan the villain storyline. We got the tiny bit of the Push and Daisy, and Debbie's been doing some stuff. I really haven't got a storyline title for Debbie, but she's not been doing a whole lot.
Dabble in Debbie.
Yeah, Dabble in Debbie.
Dabble in Debbie.
Yeah,
she's dabbling about.
Maybe she.
Why not? Sorry, it's no Chase and Donovan.
So the Chase and Donovan story.
Are you doing this one?
Yeah, I could do this one. We usually agree beforehand, didn't we? But we haven't. I'll do this one if you don't mind. Part of the problem, I don't want to go into the moaning so far, but there's a fair bit of Coronation Street at the moment where I'm thinking, this is an exit storyline, and I'm kind of thinking, this is an exit storyline for Rob here. I'm not predicting at this stage that he's going to be coming out of next week's Coronation Street alive. What are you thinking about his chances of survival?
Yeah, I think if he's a villain, so he's going to die. I don't want him to. I want him to go back to prison. But he did say ow quite a lot, so he's probably in.
He's got a gun, hasn't he? Look, someone's going to be firing that gun next week, aren't they? Either he's going to be firing it. Look, nobody needs to be worried about Carla or Lisa. They're going to be fine. They might get a little bit shot, one of them possibly.
There is literally no way they're going to.
But they're not going to be killing off either Carla or Lisa. The only one of the characters in this story who's got a possible target on their back is Rob. And you're right. I don't think I want him to be killed off, but. He's not going to be staying around on the show for anybody. It's not like he's going to get away next week, is he? And
then
he'll
just
be on the run again.
Phone up.
Surely not.
But so you're saying,
but maybe he will.
Right. So what you said something interesting then, because you said a lot of the stories you think are exit stories.
Yeah, and I don't want to be, and I'm not even necessarily talking about this week. I want to be as broad and as vague as possible for anyone that stayed spoiler free, but it's not a secret to know that there was a bit of a flurry of exit announcements.
Well, hang on,
in the past few months.
We're dealing here in a week where we've got a villain with a gun who's dying because his kidney got hooked out, and also a woman who's got terminal cancer. It's not a secret that both these characters
those two are
in danger.
The Julie one, unless she's lying, and I did see a headline this week online saying Corrie fans convinced that Julie's making it up or something along those lines. I didn't even read what the clues are. Did you? No, I
didn't read it because
I don't believe it. I don't believe it as much as I would.
I think it would be a very frustrating decision. But can I just say, so you said what's your point about it being exits?
When there's a character who is on their way out, I think I just care a little bit less about the story. And again, I still want to be incredibly vague. I may be talking about this week, I may not be talking about this week, but I am talking about Coronation Street in the time since the exits were announced, which was about, two months ago? And even like with Yasmin, for example, then we can talk about her now because she's gone. Anything that Yasmin did after we knew that she was going, I just kind of cared a little bit less about, because it's like, well, whatever the outcome of this is, she's going to be gone. Yeah. So it's not going to make any difference. Same with Max. You know, I suppose we was kind of interested to know, is he going to get burned up in the fire or is he not?
Once he didn't get burned in the fire, I was like, oh, he's just going to go to prison then.
Yeah, exactly. And whatever drama there's going to be, he's not going to be in the show for that much longer. And there are still some lingering characters that I really would like to care about a lot more, but I just find it a lot more difficult to, because I know that whatever the outcome of the dramas that they're going through,
it's going to be irrelevant.
It doesn't matter. It is totally irrelevant at the end of the day.
So here's a point though. We often will criticise exit storylines or say, oh, this exit storyline was too brief, or Yasmin here 1 minute, gone the next. And then you've got other stories that are clearly very drawn out. There's characters we're talking about now who we're talking about their exit storyline. How does Coronation Street cope with that criticism of, this one's too long and this one's too short?
I don't have a problem that something's long. I just wish that they wouldn't say when people were leaving.
I know. I totally agree with you. I think it's the worst kind of spoiler that you can get. But they can't. The sun is always ruining the sun's
plots. The worst by far. Yeah. They're terrible
because I don't think they really have. They don't have any stake in Corrie. Like the soap journalists that we follow do care about the soaps, even though they're always getting accused of not. But they do care about the soaps, and they do sit. We saw what happens in a press conference. They get told things and get asked to keep it secret, because it adds the engagement and the fun. And they will run with a story if it becomes common knowledge, because it would be irresponsible of them not to their employers, because they'll be missing out on traffic.
And they also know that Coronation Street aren't going to cut ties with them in many cases as well if they do a bit of leaking, because it's in Coronation Street press team's interest to keep these big publications on their side in case they do want to use them to publicise this, that or the other.
I don't know that there's a name at the Sun. Whenever I look, it's always someone different. I don't know if they're pen names or what, but I don't. But they can't cut the Sun off, can they?
No.
And the Sun obviously doesn't need the press team because they just get fed information. And they're the worst. They ruin Coronation Street all the time.
The Sun really, really, really do.
And I don't care about saying that because they always steal stuff off us all the time.
Yeah, they do. I don't want to go too much further into this. I just wonder if anyone else feels the same way. When you know that a character is leaving,
I want to know.
Do you care less about the dramas that they're currently going through on the show, even if it's a character that you really, really like?
It's funny, isn't it? Because I feel the same way. It's like you suddenly get the ick. Like, I don't care. I understood.
It's not that I completely don't care whatsoever. It's I know I care a lot less about certain elements of it. But anyway, right, Chase and Donovan. That's just my thought for the day, everybody. Chase and Donovan is back for possibly one last time. See, this is a funny thing because they put out this Rob on the Run trailer, and I happened to see snippets of it a couple of weeks ago, so I knew that Rob would turn up at number one. Did you know before this week? Had you seen any pictures of her?
Can I just say
at number one?
One thing, right? I think it's fairly well established that we like Swala, we love Lisa and Carla. I think it's great, support that. I like Swala fans. I love how enthusiastic they are. I love watching them get excited about stuff. But oh my God, you guys leak so much stuff, and I cannot. It always comes across the timeline when I'm looking on Twitter. It's always Swala fans, and it's hilarious because they're so far ahead sometimes that they'll be coming up with theories about things, and I've got no idea what they're talking about. Like weeks ago, they were saying about, is Lisa going to get shot? Oh, I think Carla's going to get shot, and then Lisa's going to jump in front, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Because at this point, I had no idea that Rob was even, going to come back. So I do love how cryptic they are, but they do spoil things for me, and I'm not gonna mute Swala, Carla, or Lisa, or Swain, or anything, because I want to see what everyone's talking about. It's just one of these unavoidable side effects of being online, and anyway. I just do think it's really sweet and endearing how excited they always get about those characters.
I know what you mean, and a lot of them, as I would be if I could, are watching 7 o'clock in the morning as well.
Definitely.
Things come up during the day. Anyway, what I was saying was I've known for a few weeks that Rob would be going to number one, but yes, I didn't realise that this week would be the same visit. I thought that what's going to be happening next week, which I'm not going to say anything about, but I've seen pictures and trailers and whatnot. I thought that was happening this week when I saw him arriving on the...
I assume...
On Tuesday's episode.
I assume he's going to hold people hostage.
Well, I'm confirming...
Didn't he... The last thing he was doing
was putting a gun in Tracy's face.
Get Carla here, wasn't it? Or Lisa, or whoever else.
Carla, I think he wants, But yeah,
I want my kidney back.
It's a funny thing with the time, isn't it? Because he arrived at number one on Tuesday Wednesday was just the next day, and now we've got to wait until the whole of Monday next week, and that's kind of still in a 24-hour period that he's staying at number one. But I think it's a nice, long, drawn-out hostage situation. Like I said, I think that Matt Bayliss is playing an absolute blinder with his poorly sick man, I'm on the brink of death.
He does look very ill.
But a bit of white powder on his face to make him look like he's a bit peaky.
I'm very worried about this because I would need the toilet.
What?
Well, if I was being held captive for days, I'd need the toilet, and I'm not weeing in a bucket in front of my brother or my husband.
I don't.
You wouldn't like it if I weed in the corner in a bucket right now, would you?
No, I wouldn't like that. Right, Monday's episode then. So
don't hold me hostage then.
The part of the storyline that I wasn't as interested in this week, because my focus was 100% on what was going on with Tracy and Rob, is Betsy, and she's kind of hermetising herself, isn't she?
She's becoming a bit of a who was it? Hoopy.
Tina McIntyre.
She did a bit of this.
She's becoming a bit of a Tina Mac by not wanting to go outside because she reckons that Rob Donovan's going to come around and duff her in. Carla's saying, look, it's absolutely fine. You can hang around with me today. We'll stay in the flat. We'll have a little girly day. It's going to be all right. Sadly, Carla gets called into work because a disgruntled customer comes to the factory after being sent some naff knickers. He's not pleased to hear that Carla's supposedly working from home, so she gets summoned into the factory. She does say, in her defence, Betsy, do you want to come with me? Doesn't she? And Betsy's like, no, I'll be fine. I'll stay in the flat. I'd rather be there on my own. So she's alone watching telly later, and then we get the silly edited scene of the week with panic attacks, funny wibbly wobbly camera effects, knocking, buzzing on the buzzer. She's watching something on the telly, something like that. Anyway, she's like, oh my gosh, I don't know what's going on. She calls Lisa up saying, I think there's somebody trying to break into the flat. So Lisa runs herself round there, finds Betsy crouched down on the floor, sobbing her little heart out, all teary, and Lisa says, it's just a parcel, don't worry about it. But yeah, Betsy is quite traumatised by her brush with death recently.
Shouldn't have ordered stuff off Amazon.
Exactly. And Lisa says, look, don't mind. Where's Carla? Is Carla
not happy
okay?
about this?
Yeah, she's not happy to hear that Carla's gone to work. So there's a little bit of friction between them there.
They didn't have a proper argument though, did they? Because
no.
Lisa nags at her and says, you shouldn't have left her, but I'd asked you not. And I do agree with Lisa. She specifically said, I will look after your daughter. And then she buggered off to work. And then she's like, look, we can't look after her the whole time. Well, why didn't you say that to me before I entrusted you with her care? If I'd known that you would so laissez-faire about it. And, maybe Carla's right, but she's not Betsy's mum. She doesn't get to make that decision.
I don't think that either of them could have known that level of PTSD that Betsy would be suffering. I saw somebody posting online, I don't know whether it was this week or last week, that in Coronation Street PTSD should stand for post terrible story disorder, which is quite amusing.
I can't believe
not that they would ever have a terrible story on Coronation Street, of course. I don't know. Carla is the boss at the end of the day, isn't she? Betsy said she was okay. She's 16, 17, I can't remember now. Carla knew that the flat was secure. Although I suppose if Rob Donovan had wanted to get in, could he have kicked the door down? Who knows what state of fitness he's in. Yeah, exactly. I mean, realistically, no. And Betsy was fairly safe. But
at least Lisa can justify, going home in the middle of work because it's an emergency and somebody
it's police business.
Is scared.
There's a criminal. There's a desperate criminal on the run, isn't there? He is
so
pretty desperate this week.
If I was Lisa, I'd say I'm working from home myself this week because a criminal could come.
Yeah,
and that's my job.
I was just on a stakeout on the sofa in front of Lorraine.
She's not in it again. Don't bring it up. She gets upset.
Right, okay, so they basically end the episode agreeing that they're only going to sort this out if they can catch Rob. Talk of the devil. Tuesday's episode comes round and in he comes. Not in that flat, he pops around the ginnel later. But it all starts off with Carla and Lisa having another chat about Betsy. They're worried about her. Betsy's listening in on the conversation, and I think she wants to hide just how distraught she is by this and put a bit of a brave face in it. She comes skipping into the lounge and says, look, I'm okay. I've downloaded a whale sounds app to help me chill out.
No, I'll don't do that because you won't be hearing breaking in because he sounds very much like a whale.
Does it?
Ooh, ooh.
Yeah, he's a little bit, isn't he? I say get yourself a good podcast, Betsy love.
Yeah, listen to us.
I don't know what she'd like to listen to. What's Betsy into?
Probably a pop culture one.
Yeah, probably.
Like, why do we all hate Gwyneth Paltrow?
I think some kind of fashion or hairstyly one. You know, she's
I
got
like
those blue
that.
and pink streaks in her hair, so she's got some kind of fashion consciousness about her, a little bit alternative in
I'm
her
not
look.
sure though. Those podcasts that are about things that are very much not based in talking, like, how could you have a fashion podcast that would be like, what do they do to say, look at this? Like when I do the stupid segment, and I hate doing it now, where it's like, oh, she's wearing a blue dress. Like, I don't care. I want to see a picture of it. I don't want to hear somebody explain what a blue dress is to me.
Well, I hate to break this to you, but quite a lot of podcasts are video these days. So
podcasts.
They're podcasts.
I thought that was
so
just people that get drunk on vodka that do a podcast. Well, I do that as well.
Yeah, if you were a vodka lady, you do a
well, I
cider
drink anything.
cast,
I'll drink
you?
anything.
If it gets you through the
fussy.
episode, yeah.
Anyway, but I also can I just recommend
have you got a
cooking podcast that I like called The Recipe with Kenji and Deb, and I was skeptical about it because I was like, well, I want to see, like, I like seeing the food. I don't want to just hear you talking about it. But they are quite good, and they're talking about, what do they talk about recently?
Food.
Broccoli cheddar soup.
Gross.
And they've also done brownies and nachos and meatballs.
Look, let me get on with this. Carla, the Carla fans want to know what's going on. So she heads over to the cafe, take Roy to the hospital because he wants to go and see Lauren and Franca.
Oh, God.
See what they're up to these days. Has he got a transplant yet? No. Has it? I don't know.
No.
What was the latest with that? Oh,
I know.
Oh, that's in the
latest
Dee-Dee
is,
story,
yeah.
isn't it? We'll come to that later. Anyway,
Why is it? Why? Just stop it. No one. Oh.
Tracy's there in the cafe, and Carla's asking if she's heard anything from Rob, and Tracy's like, no, I don't know anything. And she doesn't seem that sympathetic about Betsy's plight either. I'm really glad that Tracy has been involved in this story, because there was definitely in the back of my mind a couple of weeks ago, or a month or so ago, the worry that Tracy wasn't going to get mentioned, because they don't always, do they? If a character comes back, sometimes you think, oh, surely they're going to have a scene with so-and-so, and they just don't, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
Like, when Martin came back to Coronation Street last, however long it was, 3, 4, 5 years ago, it didn't have a scene with Jenny as far as I remember. Violet came back last year, didn't have a scene with Ken, which I would have liked to have done, you know, because he was a teacher at school.
Yeah, I know, but they're like, it is fan service.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have served the plot in any way, but they do need to start doing stuff like that a bit more.
I'm just glad that in the Julie storyline, Brian's getting involved,
me too.
because that's really, really elevating it. Not that it needed elevating, but it's just raising it even better. It's only a shame that Deb's not around, because she had a bit of a fling with him, didn't she?
Oh,
I don't even know whether she's asked after him, actually, to be fair. But anyway,
She's got time to worry about that, Michael. She's dying.
Tracy is 100% involved in this story, and I think that it has made it a lot better, is what I will say. So, Nina is there at the cafe as well, and she's Nina's like,
who?
I think I could get involved in what's this? A story? Can I smell a story here?
I
Opportunity for a little bit of screen time. Zooms over to the flat and's like, hello, can I be a friend of yours? Because I've got
trauma.
nobody.
I had trauma too. Are you traumatised?
I had flashbacks. No, she didn't have. Did she have flashbacks, or she had some kind
Betsy's
of
not
PTSD?
having flashbacks. She's having panic attacks.
Yeah, panic attacks. That's what Nina had, didn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah. Post-traumatic Seb disorder was Nina's one.
Very sad.
So she's like, yeah, fancy her listening here? And Betsy is not particularly keen, but Nina is determined that she's going to at least get into the double digits on the episode count this year, so she's not taking no for an answer there.
Nina's like, look, if you don't believe me, perhaps this wooden spoon will convince you.
Exactly.
That it's good to talk.
Carla gets in the hospital with Roy, and what do you know? What are the chances of this then, eh?
What's happened?
Somebody's out. It's Mandy.
Mandy
is back outside the hospital, going to get a baby, the fruit of her Randiness, checked out.
Michael.
She's got a baseball cap on, but we all know it's her.
I nearly didn't recognise her.
Really?
Yeah, because the baseball cap threw me off, because the last time I saw her, she didn't have one.
Yeah. I was wondering whether we would actually see her again, to be honest. Obviously, it makes sense
she
with
was
her
slightly pointless, wasn't
having
she?
a baby.
She didn't have any information.
What, this week?
No,
not particularly. But I'm thinking if Rob is possibly going to be going off to meet his maker next week, Mandy's going to be traumatised, bless her.
Well, This week she was handy Mandy, wasn't she? Because handy that you're here because we want to know where Rob is.
She was really handy Randy Mandy this week, wasn't she? Absolutely. I wonder. What do I wonder about Mandy? I had a thought in my head.
I wonder why she's there. What's she doing? What's the point?
How sorry are we feeling for Mandy? Was she taken advantage of, or did she?
No.
She was in a position of authority.
Yes.
Over Rob,
yes.
And he's taken advantage of her by he's used her to help him escape, but I'm sure she probably got a bit of training saying. Don't fall in love with the prisoners.
Even the handsome ones.
Yeah, not even the rugged ones.
Even the ones that say they didn't do nothing.
Even the ones that say they're born again.
Yeah.
Don't believe them, Mandy love. So, yeah, you kind of got yourself in this trouble,
I don't feel sorry for her whatsoever. She's a silly
Carla
lady.
wants to go after her, doesn't she? She calls up Lisa and says, you got to get down here. You got to come and help me out. And Lisa pops over. Roy, I loved it when he says, would you like me to effect a citizen's arrest? I would have loved to have seen him try, although I don't think it would have worked out quite so well for Roy.
I don't think you should accost pregnant women either, really, who are...
He did end it gently. He'd have respected.
Yeah, but she would have tried to run away, wouldn't she?
Yeah. So they're all in there in the car later doing their little Mandy stakeout, wondering why she's inside so long. Roy decides this isn't really a storyline for me. I need to get back to the cafe.
Tell you what, this is the NHS's fault.
Yeah.
Probably late for it. The appointment's running late. Yeah. It always happens.
Anyway, he buggers off just in time for Mandy to come out. So back on the street, this is when Rob pops out of the ginnel. He's not. Where was it? Brighton. He was supposed to be.
Yes.
We'd seen him around, so we knew that was a bit of misinformation. I think as the week goes on, they believe he's abroad, don't they? So nobody knows he's here, but he's decided to go back to number one, and the only person that he's got that he could possibly rely on is dear Tracy love. And he's like, oh, you look amazing. Let's go inside. House is empty. I know it's empty. I've been watching you. Ken's away. Amy's away. Cassie's been slung out on her ear. Just you in there.
Can I say that these houses on Coronation Street must be the most difficult houses to actually stake out as one person? Because people can come and go from either way.
This is true.
You can never be sure.
You never, front door, back door, yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, he says she lets him in, and he sits on the sofa, and I did like some of the comments that he made about this old place again. He said about the sofa, oh, you still got this old thing. Like, yeah, this room really hasn't been redecorated in the past, 40 years or so, has it?
Sorry, Rob, I don't know if you've heard about the ITV budget cuts. We don't have money for new sets.
We've put there's a picture of a dog on the wall. That wasn't there before, was there, Rob?
Unless it's a prison or a hospital.
Yeah. So I was really looking forward to seeing how this would turn out. Because, again, I don't think... I'm just trying to see what I remember. When I saw the clips from next week's, the pictures from next week... You keep spoiling,
yeah.
I didn't realise that Tracy and Rob would be involved, because I have seen stuff with Rob. I've seen stuff with Lisa and Carla.
I haven't. I knew that he would end up there because I saw a picture of him.
Yeah, but I didn't realise that Tracy was involved, and I was really, really interested to know what her take on him would be, because they were very, very good together, weren't they?
Yeah.
And lots of people bemoaned the fact that he was the one chosen to bump off Tina McIntyre, because actually he and Tracy had something really, really quite good going on there, and you could tell from their chemistry this week, couldn't you? They were right on the same level, and I felt just back where I was 10 odd years ago. They were brilliant. He references at one point the last time that he saw her, and the fact that the only reason he's in prison is because he went back for it. Do you remember him saying that this week?
Yeah.
And that was to do with, again, for anyone who wasn't watching at the time, Tracy, I think, or it was either Tracy or Amy, had been accused of pushing Ken down the stairs in the Who Pushed Ken storyline, and Tracy was in court for it. She'd been secretly harbouring Rob for a little bit. He disappeared off on the run again, but when he heard that Tracy was in court and he knew that she didn't do it because she was with him when Ken fell down the stairs, he basically turned himself in by turning up at the court and saying it wasn't her, Tracy didn't do it, and then he got carted off. So his final act that we saw on the show was basically a self-sacrificial one in love of Tracy. And I wonder how much he's been resenting her for that over the years, or how much he's been pining for her?
That would grate on me.
Do you reckon?
I think I'd be a bit annoyed.
Would you have even done it though? Would you have?
No.
Maybe just sent a text to the judge and say, by the way, she was with me.
Don't ask me how I know.
I'm her alibi. So, how did you anticipate their reunion being?
Oh, I don't know that I really thought about it, to be honest with you. I was kind of hoping that they would see each other. I don't know. Yeah, I wasn't sure how Tracy was going to be, because she does owe him a big debt, doesn't she? And she obviously
it would have come out that Daniel did it in the end, but
she obviously doesn't go and visit him or anything. No, I hadn't seen him since, which is a bit rude.
Well, I mean, when he was in prison before the last breakout, I don't think she went to visit him. I mean, at the end of the day, it was her that got him in prison in the first place, wasn't it? Because she found out that he killed Tina, and she lured him to a place where the police would be, or something like that.
That was very dramatic. I love that.
So he's going to be holding that against her in the same way that he's got a bit of a grudge against Carla. But I do think that the chemistry and the sexual tension between the two of them is enough for him. And yes, he's using that to his advantage. And in the same way, or a similar way that he was using Mandy to get out of prison, he's 100% trying to use his manly wiles to convince Tracy that a life away from the street, on a boat somewhere would be perfect for him. He could not get away from this country without Tracy, but I still believe that he's not 100% just using her. I think he would actually quite like setting up home with her in a foreign clime. Don't you?
Yeah, I wouldn't rely on her to learn the language or anything though.
So anyway, they sit them down on the sofa, and he tells her about Carla leaving him for dead a couple of weeks ago, which comes as a bit of a shock to Tracy. So that's possibly going to come up again. Yeah, rekindling that rivalry between the two of them. And he tells her about he's trying to escape the country. I'm in a really bad way though. And Tracy's like, look, I just need to call you an ambulance. And he's like, no, I can't. I'd rather die out here than go back inside. I cannot go back to prison again. And he was seriously in a very, very bad way, wasn't he? Like we said, the pale face, the coffin, the blood all over the place. It's a wonder he's managed to survive this long. But all credit to Mark Bayliss for that performance there. I thought he was smashing. Nina and Betsy, meanwhile, are meeting for a drink in the pub. She's worn her down, has Nina, and I don't think anything particularly comes of that, does it?
Glenn gives them a pep talk.
Yeah, about not letting blokes intimidate you, but I don't think it got particularly any further.
A criminal with a gun. Because honestly, I think that any criminal of any gender might intimidate me if they had a gun.
If they had a gun pointed at your face,
they were like, "I've got a vendetta against you and your family." It would intimidate. I think it's unfair to expect you not to be intimidated, and actually I would even go so far as to argue that you probably find it quite beneficial to be intimidated because it might protect you from doing something rash.
I did think it was quite amusing how Betsy at this point had her back to number one where Rob was sitting, so he was literally 10 metres away from her and she didn't realise. Anyway, so nothing much comes to that. Meanwhile, you got the hospital. Lisa's had Mandy arrested. Carla's a bit peed off by this because she wanted to go and chase after Mandy in the hope that she might lead them to Rob, and Lisa's like, no, we got to do it by the book. This is the best way of finding him. You got to believe me. We're all good coppers, apart from Craig. We'll find him, I promise. Back at number one, and Rob's still trying to sweet talk Tracy round to and bring back some of this past spark. He's like doing, I remember when we did this. Remember the good times we had together. He then kind of gets a little bit manipulative even more by saying, I just need you to help me one last time, and if you do, I'm going to make sure that Aaron gets what's coming to him, because he talks about hearing about what happened to Amy, knowing that would be an Achilles heel of sorts for Tracy. Is it just like understood and accepted that if you're in prison in Coronation Street, you got nothing better to do than to send goons after people on the outside? You know, you got Harvey. He might as well be out. The amount of strings on the outside he's able to pull, and clearly Rob as well has got his contacts.
I say, look, being in prison should be no impediment to you living your best and full life, as far as I can tell.
Well, there we go. Harvey and Rob are testament to that.
I'm surprised they don't just get jobs in call centres or something, because all you need is a phone.
Yeah. Well, Sean will get you one of those. Yeah. It's fine. It just needs to be intimidated a little bit. So yeah, see, he's really trying to. I don't know. I don't think as much.
What?
Tracy is a vengeful sort, isn't she?
Yeah, I love it.
And they bring this up in a minute with what I would say was the best line of the week.
Yeah, you love this.
It's when she's saying, look, violence and revenge aren't the answer. And he says, look, you're just as bad. And she says, no, I've evolved. His line then is, you're some kind of Pokemon or something. That was brilliant. That sometimes a line can just come out of nowhere. And that just tickled me so much.
I know, you love that.
Is it just because I quite like Pokemon? I'm not as big a Pokemon fan as I once was. I think everybody likes hearing something that's related to their special interest on the programme that you watch. But I just thought it was generally a funny line, and it was maybe it was the fact that Rob mentioned it.
It's funny. How does Rob know what a Pokemon is?
I think everybody knows what a Pokemon.
It was like
he's not been playing Pokemon Go while he's been on the inside. I tell you that.
No, that's true. It was like in Adolescence where they mentioned Coronation Street and they gave Steve McDonald a shout out, didn't they?
Oh yes, we've been watching Adolescence this week. That was our Sunday, wasn't it? We binged all 4 episodes of that. That was quite good.
Yeah.
But we won't digress anymore. But anyway, yeah. Tracy says that she's evolved and she isn't vengeful anymore. Do you think that that's a fair summary of Tracy in 2025?
It's a shame. To me, that just means she's gone a bit boring. Part of Tracy's appeal was always that she was unhinged and she wanted revenge for things that, you wouldn't necessarily ruin your life over, but she did.
I mean,
it makes sense that she's evolved past it, though.
Character development is good.
Yeah. And
Tracy is no way near as kind of bitchy and nasty and manipulative and evil as she was 15 years ago. But, last week she did try and get an addict to fall off the wagon by buying her some drugs pushing it towards her.
But also, does all character development have to be towards being more boring? Because it kind of does go that way sometimes.
Is that the nirvana of fiction? Just everybody's bland?
Just slowly all become some amalgamated beige mess of nonsense.
With Stella Price at the centre of the universe.
She's the end Pokemon stage. only makes sensible decisions.
Yeah. I think that if the stakes weren't quite so high and Tracy thought that she could use Rob to get at Aaron, I think that would be a real temptation that she wouldn't be able to leave alone. That'd be a scab she'd want to pick.
Yes, I think so.
But she knows that leaving the country with it. Oh, no, actually, no, at this point, he wasn't saying come with me, was he? He was just saying get me out.
I think that Tracy's also learned that when she was, interfering with Amy and she kind of made it worse.
Did she? I can't remember what happened.
She's making those posters and things, and Amy
was gluing herself to police desks.
You're not helping, really. You're just making it about yourself.
Yeah, she's... Amy's still of an age where their mum might still want to protect them.
Always will.
Yeah, I know you always will, but Amy's still just out of childhood herself. Right. Anyway, I thought that was quite good that they dangled that one in front of her. Yeah, she was able to resist for once, so a little bit of character progression there. But as I say, next time that the stakes aren't quite so high, I'm sure she'll be right back being manipulative and cruel and a bit of a cunning little fox herself. Excellent. She also knows that she doesn't want to go back inside. She's spent how many years in jail? 2, 3 maybe, was it? Already, the fact that she's harbouring this desperate criminal under her roof, I wouldn't... Is that a jailable offence? I don't really know. I
don't want to know about it.
Why? Who have you been letting in the day when I've been out of work?
Well, the basement is quite big.
full of people on the run, is it? Yeah. So I think that she probably thinks that if it gets found out that he's here with her, she might be able to talk her way out of it. But if she's literally helping an armed criminal leave the country when he's a wanted man, that could end up quite bad for her. So she's got to think about number one, and that's Tracy all over, isn't it? Thinking of herself above anybody else, even Rob. Back at the police station, we got Lisa interviewing Mandy, and I felt slightly sorry for her. She had a bit of a cry, didn't she, Mandy? And she says, look...
Who could have predicted that having an affair with a prisoner might end up with you pregnant and alone?
Yeah. She says, look, I don't know where Rob is. I saw him a week ago. He came and stayed with me for a night and left. But
I cannot believe that I tell you what, the police force here, what are they doing? Why has Mandy got somewhere that she's a secret place? Why isn't she under surveillance? How is it possible for Rob to spend the night with the woman that literally she should be in custody?
Yeah.
What's she wandering around for with her baseball cap on?
Yeah, well, she might
put her in prison.
Well, hopefully they will, because she's definitely helped him escape. So
I don't care how much she cries.
She's going to be getting a bit
or
more
how
than
much she's pregnant.
She
obviously should have been locked up because she's aiding and abetting a criminal.
So the cliffhanger.
I hope they put her in a cell and didn't let her out.
I'm sure they did. The interesting cliffhanger on the end of this scene was when she's saying, "Oh yeah, I was at my flat and he took something from me. Oh, what could it be? It's a gun. It's a gun."
I can't believe that.
I've already kind of ruined this because I forgot at what point this came up. But yeah, Rob is on the sofa.
I thought it'd be like a
looking
blender
in his bag
or an air fryer or something.
Looking in his bag, and he's got a gun. He's got a pistol that he picked up from Mandy. She's just full of them, isn't she? Because this isn't the same gun that was used in the breakout a couple of weeks ago.
All these guns. She needs to be investigated.
Yeah, she's got a secret. It's a bit like
armory.
Secret armory, isn't it? Yeah, like I'm thinking of like in Kick-Ass, in the little basement full of guns, or maybe it's like in the Matrix.
It makes more sense in America because you're allowed. I know we're allowed guns here, but I wouldn't say very many people have got a gun you can just steal.
No, not really, but
because you're supposed to lock them up and stuff, aren't you?
I remember the days when seeing a gun on Coronation Street was a bit of a surprise.
I remember the days when it was so rare that we did a bonus episode about it, same as cancer.
Yeah, I know.
Wouldn't even bother doing that now. It'd be like having a bonus episode about affairs.
Morning on Wednesday, the next day comes, and Rob is in the kitchen having his medicine, and Tracy's desperately trying to get rid of him because she thinks that anybody could come round and catch them at it at any moment. But he wants a bit of scran, doesn't he?
He wants some milky eggs.
Oh yeah, he wants her milky eggs.
What are you doing? Don't put milk in scrambled eggs.
Yeah. Lisa, meanwhile, is getting an update from her colleagues about what's going on, and they've been looking through Mandy's flat. And again, like you said, why they weren't staking this out before, I don't know. But anyway, hopefully they're going to find some evidence that can point them towards Rob.
To be fair, Rob does seem like the sort of problem that solves itself. Like he's going to die. Just wait a few weeks and he'll be dead. Don't need to look for him.
I would still think and hope that the British justice system might say we'd rather take him in alive than find him dead.
No, I say back to the good old days.
Back to the good old days of the Wild West.
Waiting for him to run around and die down a hole or something.
Yeah, no.
Is that how it used to work?
They've got to protect human life, haven't they?
Why? That's boring.
Has he killed anybody apart? Oh no, he calls Tina. That's why he's
in trouble about that.
He's had such redemption since then.
He loves the Bible.
He loves the Bible, yeah.
Have you looked in a shop that sells Bibles? He could be there.
Could be. One plate of milky eggs later, and Rob still won't leave. He's texting this mate who's supposed to be bringing around a fake passport later. And he says, "Oh, Tracy, can you go and get it for me? Because I don't want to risk being seen out in public with it," or something like that. She's basically left with no choice. So she goes and has a bit of a sneak around the ginnel again, and fairly stupidly does it in very plain sight of Mary at Preston's Petals. Like, why the passport guy couldn't have just come round the back of number one?
Here's a question. Why couldn't the passport guy just have put it in an envelope and put it through the door and walked off?
Very good point. Did she have to give him any money or anything back for it? I don't really know. Maybe he's seen the Ring doorbell and he doesn't want his face to appear on camera.
Maybe. Maybe anyway, it's more dramatic this way.
So she's got the passport. She goes back inside. Mary's trying to figure out what's going on here, so she's a bit of a thorn in the side of Tracy for a few scenes.
Has been doing dodgy dealings in the ginnel before, and she was buying drugs for Cassie. So
yeah, that's it. Mary says, "I heard that you're
on the case."
Yeah. That's it.
Mary really, you can tell Mary wants some drugs. She's like, "Oh, what are you buying? What is that?"
She just wants a bit of gossip, doesn't she? She goes around number one and is banging on the door, calling through the letterbox. And obviously Rob and Tracy, what are they going to do here? How are we going to get rid of her? So Mary's she wants to know what's going on, but she's also saying that she's got bad teeth.
I need you to come to the shop because I've got an emergency dentist appointment because my crown has fallen out in an Eccles cake.
Of course it has, Mary. Of course it has. Only Mary would that happen to. So Tracy's able to stall her at the door for a little bit, whilst Rob, meanwhile, is just like passing out on the kitchen floor. And Mary's still very mad at Tracy for she knows that something's going on here, so she barges herself in, and Tracy has a bit of a brainwave and lies that actually it's Tommy Orpington out the back. He's in the nuddy, and they're just rekindling that lost spark from last week. And Mary's like, oh, okay then. So when Tracy goes back into the kitchen to say, Rob, it's all clear, she's in for a bit of a shock because he's pulling a gun on her. This is the first time that she's seen he's got a shooter. And he's like, don't come any closer. What did you think of that? Because in the end, does he just say, oh, I thought it might have been the police, and I thought you'd be coming with the police or something?
Well, he has the gun on her, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Like, for the rest of the time?
No. He's because that's in the kitchen. He puts it away later.
I think it was a bit. Out again.
Yeah, he does eventually. But it was a bit of a cliffhanger when she's having the gun pointed at her. But he's just a bit
because he's not very well.
I was wondering whether this was actually him turning on her, but it wasn't. I think he was just a little bit.
Like, oh, what's
I think he was just
here?
a little bit antsy about and. Bit jumpy about the fact that he could be being hauled into the cop shop.
Well, it wouldn't be the first time, would it? So he's right to be nervous. She's up to something.
Yeah. So Carla's flat, meanwhile, she's getting all pretty concerned about what's going on with Rob, and Lisa says, "Well, what's going to happen? Are you going to go after him? Are you going to be armed if you find him?" Which that was kind of interesting because Carla's clearly still got some kind of lingering affection for her brother, despite everything that he's done to her. Although, he did give her a kidney as well. So she doesn't want anything bad to happen to him. And she's trying to excuse him.
If he dies?
Yeah, probably. Trying to excuse him and say he's not necessarily dangerous. I think that if Rob dies, then she should at least harvest it and put it on ice. She might not need it at the moment, but the way that she goes...
When you're the president,
goes through
they
kidneys
take your blood out, don't they, and keep it for you. So maybe... You also get some organs harvested for you.
I expect that the president, and indeed the king, has got a whole van
clone.
Full of... Yeah, he's probably got a clone just to harvest bits off of.
Yeah.
Anything that gets shot or a bit gammy, chop it off the clone, whack
Donald
it on.
Trump's got a new heir, hasn't he?
No, yeah, he has, hasn't he?
He's pretty off a clone.
Anyway, Tracy is being asked, meanwhile, by Rob, Can you run away with me? Come with me. I'm not going to shoot you. I love you. I think we really got something going here. And Tracy's like, I can't believe you're serious. You are an armed criminal. And he's like, no. I wouldn't shoot you. I wouldn't shoot anyone. Honestly, I just got it to defend myself. And he pulls out the magazine out of the handgun, hands it to her to prove it. He's like, no, it's just.
Well, no, he gives it to her like you hold on to this so you feel safe, and I can't shoot you because you've got all the bullets. With this.
Yeah, he is really, really getting proper desperate by this point. Later on, and he's still banging on about this bond that they've got. They're meant to be together. Oh, what if we'd met earlier? Maybe none of us would have ended up killing people. And Tracy says, we probably would have killed each other, actually. Yep. Driven each other out the wall. And I think there's definitely an element of that in their relationship. It's not a million miles away from like the Jim and Liz is on Coronation Street. That
violent and untrustworthy.
Violent and untrustworthy, but also very passionate in the bedroom, I imagine.
Grace.
It's all natural, natural. So Rob says, no, look, honestly, you mean the world to me. Please come with me. He's getting worse though. He started bleeding from his tongue. He's got a big red patch.
It looks like there might be... I don't understand what the problem is, because he just had it taken out. It's fine.
You get it taken out the back though, don't you? So when you got...
Do you?
Yeah, you do. You get your kidneys out your back, have you? For sure.
I don't know. It's never taken my kidneys out.
Oh.
Actually, maybe they have.
Yeah, I wouldn't know. You could have done it when you're under for your appendix. Have you counted them recently?
Have you seen any scars on my back?
No. Anyway, so he's doing pretty badly. Over at the station, Lisa has been called in, has been shown some CCTV footage from last week at the port. There's footage of Rob there, so seemingly Rob, and then when the boat goes, he's not there. So this is enough to convince her and Carla and Betsy that they can actually have a bit of a relief pizza later on, because Rob's not going to be jumping out at them anytime soon.
Unfortunately,
he's abroad now. He's miles away.
The ferry that he got on was just like a tour of like the bay, and he's come back again.
Yeah, probably. So they're on the back foot now, aren't they? So
they've got no idea.
They've got no idea that over at number one, Rob's demanding that Carla come round.
They're so relieved that they have a pizza party.
Yes.
With pineapple.
You put up your poll on Twitter, didn't you?
I did. I've got to look. I don't understand that.
Pineapple on pizza.
If you don't like pineapple on pizza, my biggest tip, right, for improving your life, is to not order it.
Well,
don't end up with pizza with pineapple on it, and you'd have to pick it off, do you?
It's horrible stuff. Yeah, he's getting worse.
So pineapple on pizza, we got 53% say yes.
Oh.
And 47% say no.
It was 50-50 earlier today.
But I think that I like ham and pineapple on pizza.
Anyway, look, stop it. You interrupted me.
It's very important.
Rob's getting worse. He's getting cold. He wants another yoghurt. And while Tracy's in the kitchen,
what a baby,
he takes out his gun, puts some spare bullets in it.
No.
And when she comes back, she's got a gun in her face again. So.
And he says, "I want your phone. I want to see Carla."
So
I'd be really hurt if I was her. Did you lie to me about this yoghurt, pig?
I snapped it off the rest of them.
This was the last one.
I've taken the lid off now, Rob.
Right, I'm licking the lid then.
So was it all a ruse, or is it?
What is his plan?
I think
this is step 2 of the plan.
This
is plan B. Like, plan A was get Tracy, get the passport. Because why would he get the passport if he didn't need it? Convince her to run away with me. If that doesn't work, plan B is get Carla and shoot in the face.
Yeah, he wants to have some kind of revenge on Carla.
Do you think that's what it is? Why on earth would he want to see Carla? There's no reason. It doesn't make any sense to me. Unless he's going to be like, I just wanted to let you know, look after my kidney. It likes bedtime stories. And it hates alcohol. Maybe,
I don't know, maybe he thinks that it is up for him. Maybe he's realised, I'm not getting away here. I want to see my sister.
Do you think maybe a twist is that he thinks that Carla might be convinced to help him escape? Because Tracy's being a bit useless.
Yeah, Tracy's not going for it, is she?
And he might be able to manipulate Carla into helping him leave if he promises to leave Betsy and Lisa alone and says, you owe me a favour.
Maybe. I don't like the idea that he was just stringing Tracy along all this time.
No,
I totally believe that he took advantage of Mandy, but I think he was genuine with Tracy.
But if he only ever wanted Carla, why didn't you just say it to start with? Why go through all that rigmarole of asking for a yoghurt and scrambled eggs with milk in them? I'll tell you what, he's on a protein binge, isn't he?
Maybe he just thinks that if she gives him his kidney back, he'll be magically cured.
Fine,
yeah. Anyway, that was very exciting stuff. I'm sorry for the people that didn't like it.
Do you think Dr. Gaddis
and I know that I shouldn't like that, and I know it's not classic Corrie.
What is classic
and
Corrie?
I know that it's going to end up in some dramatic climax, which I'll probably enjoy, and then moan that the aftermath of it is poorly done and a bit boring. But this is what kept me hooked to Coronation Street this week, this story, 100%. And I'm just the most thrilled that Tracy and Rob got all those scenes together, because there was a moment where I was worried that they wouldn't. Are you into this story as much as me? You don't seem to be.
I'm fine.
Gemma's fine with this story. I'm more than fine.
I'm trying to be my best.
No, it's okay. It's all right. You don't have to be head over heels with it.
I'm not reading it out, so I've got nothing. If I say anything, I'm interrupting you.
I didn't think that I would enjoy it as much as I did. I'm going to say that. I thought that the first few appearances of Rob, the stuff with him in the prison when he was being a little bit too. I'm just a moustache twirly villain here. I've got no layers to me. I'm just bad to the bone, and that's all my personality is. I didn't think that really rang true with what we knew about Rob's character from before. But it felt like we got to see a little bit more depth to him this week, which cheered me up.
Too hammy, but that's why you put pineapple with it.
Right. Oh, do you want to say anything about Lisa's revelation in the interview?
Yes. This just was
before we
interesting.
move on, because we missed this before.
So, yeah, she's talking to Mandy, and she was trying to sort of get Mandy to realise how terrible Rob was, and she was saying to her, when my did you say partner was pregnant, I didn't drink. Is that what she said?
Something along those lines.
Because I didn't want her. I can't remember what she said, but that was a big revelation.
That was the first proper hint, I think, that we've got about was she birthed of Becky?
Yes.
I just always assumed that it would be the other way round.
Yes.
That Lisa would be the birth mum.
But here's the interesting part about that. Is that they've still given themselves some wiggle room here.
Oh, totally.
To have either Betsy's got a secret sibling, who's just rubbish, so they put him in a pot.
Oh, it would be him if it's rubbish,
like Bobby, or maybe it's maybe the baby didn't survive,
or is it just Betsy?
Is it Betsy? And it's still possible that if those things like if Becky carried another child, it's still possible that Lisa did carry Betsy. We don't know. They haven't given us enough information. It's the sort of thing that Coronation Street would do to lead you to believe that it was Becky gave birth to Betsy. But then it's actually just a misdirection, and that's the shock later down the road.
I don't mind the idea that could partially explain why Lisa is so protective over Betsy and so almost neurotic about the fact that she needs to look after her, because she, maybe as Becky was laying there dying, was Lisa there when Becky died? I can't remember. She's like, don't worry, I'll look after her, love. And it doesn't mean
she's still her daughter.
No, exactly. But I wonder whether Betsy feels any more loyalty to Becky knowing that she was inside her. Was it Lisa's egg? I don't.
This is what we were wondering. I don't know if it's possible. I assume it's possible that it was Lisa's egg. Yeah. And if it wasn't, maybe Lisa has a brother and they used his sperm, or another family members. There's lots of different questions that are still unanswered, and I do think it's really intriguing that they put that in. And
I don't think that this was. I think it was a revelation this week, although I don't think I've seen that much chatter about people going, oh my gosh, you mentioned that. So maybe we've missed it before, where it's been more strongly hinted or outright stated.
We're talking about this was one of the questions, and it's one of those things where, that there's a lot of negativity about relationships, to women in the first place. So you don't want to ask too many questions, because you don't want to sort of unleash a bunch of solicited thoughts from people that have no business really commenting on it. But it's a relationship that we haven't really seen. Well, we've never seen a mature lesbian couple on Coronation Street before. Or two women together in a couple. So there are lots of interesting elements to it that we don't know about, and that's interesting. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm just trying to have a little look on Corriepedia, and it doesn't appear that
I'm glad that you brought it up. No, it hasn't been confirmed. She just said her partner was pregnant. Did she even say it was Becky?
No, I don't think so.
So it could be possible that Lisa had a relationship with somebody else, and she was already pregnant when they got together, and this baby, they broke up, and the baby went with the mum. There's so many. I think it was so clever of Coronation Street to put that in there, but not actually confirm anything.
I know.
All we know is that she at one point had a partner who was pregnant, and that's all the information that we got out of that. But a lot of people are going to build
little narrative of their own around that. Only for Coronation Street to say, "Now you got it wrong."
And I think Coronation Street, it's very possible that they might listen to this and go, "Oh, come on! Of course it's Becky. Of course it was Becky that gave birth to her. That's what we're trying to say." Why would she?
The fact that they've only hinted means that
why
they've
would
given
she
themselves
say?
a get out clause.
Yeah, I mean, there was no reason for Lisa in that interview to be like, "Yes, my partner was pregnant. By the way, her name was Becky, and the baby's name was Betsy." In case you wondered. Anyway.
Right, shall we move on to the next story?
Let's do the next one, which is Dee-Dee up the duff.
Yes, speaking of storylines about gay characters and pregnancies and the difficulties that can sometimes arise with...
and gay relationships.
Yeah, so I said that. I said that. And raising children in gay relationships. And James is back.
Oh yeah,
James Bailey. Obviously, since James Bailey left last,
I said that
Coronation Street fans have not stopped knocking on that door of the Coronation Street producer saying, "When's James coming back? I love James. James is the best Bailey. James is the best character on Coronation Street.
We need a character who can play football, but from the chest up only."
Yeah. You don't need to bring back Nathan Graham, but James Bailey, bring him back. So yeah, a bit of an unexpected...
a very swift recast.
Yes.
This is, honestly.
Yeah.
Because let's not forget that, James and his boyfriend had the first...
Danny boy.
The first kiss after
Post-COVID snog, wasn't it?
And, that was a big deal. And then, then he went to London, I guess, or whatever.
Yeah, he went to London
to play football.
A bit of kicking about there, yeah.
And now he's back again. How long has this been? 2 years?
2-3 years. Nobody saw this coming. If you say you thought that James Bailey would be coming back in 25, I call you a liar, sir or madam. Nobody had that in their predictions for this year, did they? We thought the Baileys were just quietly dispersing, leaving Ed and Dee-Dee and Ronnie on the street, but no, James is
Michael.
back.
The only person who's left is Aggie. And James.
And James, yeah, exactly.
Well, now they're back to nearly full strength.
So, new James is played by Jason Calendar, and I don't know what he's done before. I've looked. I'm sure people have said what he's been up to before, but I don't know.
I hope he's been training how to play football, because this is an important part of the role.
We all need to see him. And what's your initial impressions? How does he kind of gel with you? Your idea of what James should be? Better, worse, about the same, too old?
I'm gonna shock everybody here by saying I didn't care about James Bailey.
What?
And so this can only be a good thing for the character as far as I'm concerned, a fresh start, because I found him stupid from the beginning.
I really wanted to like James.
I tried my best. I did try really hard to like him, and I thought the storylines were good.
Yeah, he was involved. The story about him coming out in football, I did think was a really, really well done.
Yeah.
But he just wasn't the most compelling of characters, was he? And I'm hoping that the new James can breathe a bit of life into him.
He seems to have a bit more about him already.
If he's staying, I don't...
Or he's going to America.
Yeah, apparently at the moment he's supposed to be going to America. And I genuinely 100% do not know whether this is just he's going to be back for a few weeks and then he literally is going to America, or whether he's staying. I don't think he will go to... What
is it about the Baileys and going to America?
Yeah.
This is not a great time.
I'm back to willing to giving him a second chance.
Can I just suggest it's not a really great time to move to America as a gay black man who likes football? Because none of those things are very high on the priority list over there right now.
We've got a travel.
We've got a travel advisory. Don't go.
About going to America, so maybe Coronation Street foresaw this, and that's how James is going to end up staying in Weatherfield.
Wouldn't you say something to your brother or son who's like, I'm going to start a new life in America? I don't want to, I'm not trying to be rude to anyone who's listening who's Americans, because, we always saying about how we love all our listeners from all around the world and stuff. And if you're listening to this, I don't see how you could listen to this and have, very many different ideas about politics and stuff than we do, because otherwise you find it just continuously infuriating, which is probably why you're secretly giving it 1 star on Apple.
iTunes.
But it's like, I think it's a fairly mainstream opinion in the UK at least that it's a bit of a troubled situation to get into.
Yeah, things are a bit factious between us at the moment for sure. But anyway, I think I like this new James. still giving him a bit of a trial period, a bit of a test period. I don't know how much to invest in him if I don't know if he's staying.
I don't know if this is just me, but he gives off the same kind of children's television presenter that Michael gives off to me.
Do you think? See, I don't think that he does.
I
think he feels a bit more chill.
I tell you what it is. He just looks too happy to be a young man in Coronation Street.
I think
because they're also brooding and moody, aren't they?
Yeah,
normally?
he's not a broody moody.
He didn't turn up and start crying about wanting Dee-Dee's baby, did he?
No.
He seems like a nice guy.
He seems like a very nice guy,
which is just a bit of a and refreshing. Not a ladies' man. Didn't come to the street going, he's a ladies' man who's going to cause trouble.
Going to be breaking a few hearts. No, he's. I think the fact that he's a little bit nice maybe puts him potentially a bit on the bland side, but they couldn't change his personality so much. Although they have done in the past, haven't they?
Would you have said James was nice?
James Bailey was nice. I think I
think there's two ways of describing somebody as nice, right? There's somebody who's genuinely kind and caring, and you can tell that they're engaged with people and they want to help out. That's one type of nice, and another type of nice is just the complete absence of personality, but with no negative
malice.
No negative traits. They're just not an arsehole. Oh yeah, they're nice.
But yeah,
and that's what he was like.
I think that the new James, I can very quickly say, okay, that's James. I think some of the biggest recasts in the past have been like Nick, for example, and all three of Nick's incarnations have been very different from each other. And I don't remember what it was like at the time, but I think maybe it was a bit more of a struggle to say, okay, is that really him? I mean, Todd was also somewhat different, and it took me a bit longer to get used to him. But I think straight away, James, I'm like, yeah, okay, that's James.
James, I think that old James was a bit more slight. And this James is a bit, he seems a bit tougher and beefier and taller.
A little bit more. Those 3 years in London.
He looks like an actual athlete.
He now wants to have a family. I don't think that the old James had any hankering for a kid.
I don't think that old James had opinions on anything.
No, I don't think he did. But yeah, he seems like a nice guy. I think that, in the looks department, they've got somebody who's not a million miles away from Nathan Graham's James. I have seen complaints online that he's a little bit old. I don't necessarily always see that, and he is. So the thing with the Baileys, the weird thing with the Baileys is that Michael is the older brother, and James is supposed to be younger than him. Yeah. Yet Nathan Graham was 3-4 years older, than Ryan Russell, who plays Michael, and new James is a year older than Nathan Graham is, so he is still older. Because when people said, "Oh, he looks like he's older," the new James is the oldest of them all.
He's older than Ed.
No, don't be just donkey.
He looks good on it though.
He's the oldest of the Bailey children. When people said who looks a bit older, I thought, well, he has been away for 2 or 3 years. He has aged. I think he looks fine.
All right, I'm so confused.
In real life, he should be younger, but I'm not going to mention it again.
So the ages for the Baileys go, Michael's the oldest, and then it's James, and then Dee-Dee's the baby. Is that right? But in real life, you're saying the actor who plays the middle child, or James, is older than the actor who plays Michael.
Yeah.
He does look older to me than James, the original James, but let's be fair, he's 3 years older anyway.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
no, I mean 3 years from the last time I saw him.
He
could look all right.
I said that.
I was looking at the cat again.
I can't remember. I can never remember whether James or Dee-Dee are supposed to be older. They even referred to it this week in the show, didn't they? One of them said, "Oh, baby brother or baby sister" or something, but I don't remember. It doesn't matter. I think the new James is a fine casting. I'll give him a real fair shake. Let's see where the storyline's going. And the storyline is what, Gemma? Do you want to give a bit of a recap
He wants the baby.
He wants the baby.
I think everyone predicted this might happen.
I didn't at all.
You didn't? No, yeah.
I didn't give it any thought. Even Monday's episode ends with him on the phone saying, "Oh yeah, I haven't told her yet. Oh, dark secret.
What did you think?
I literally didn't. I was like, oh, I wonder what that is.
I wonder if it's something to do with giving up football and starting rugby.
I literally had no theories. So when it was revealed on Wednesday that that's what it was, like, oh yeah, that does make sense. I bet everybody else gets that, which they did.
Yeah. Right, so Monday, Roy asks Ed if he can help him assemble a playpen for the tedious Frankie. And Ed says, yes, I will, but I'm going to pick somebody up from the station later. Dee-Dee goes to see Frankie, and Lauren says, I'm so excited about your baby maybe being a donor for my baby.
This bloody story.
I know.
How long has this been going?
My sad
Somebody put
child.
That Frankie out of his misery.
And then she gets wistful. She says, "Oh, I don't know what my life will be without Max, so I wanted to spend it with him."
It's nice that she's remembered that Max has been moved halfway up the country.
I know, she doesn't like... Lauren, you're a portable woman. Once your baby...
Yeah, please go and follow him.
Once your baby is out of hospital, you could go. You could probably even go now. Nobody likes you around here. Leave.
Literally, she's like, "Oh yeah, I did have a boyfriend that I was going to start a new life with. What's happened to him again? Oh, he's in prison, is he? Anyway, guess I'm on my own. Poor me.
Why are you here?" Anyway.
I'd be gutted if I was Max.
She's just dumped him, isn't she?
Yeah.
Why?
They didn't even get a proper goodbye scene.
Right, so Ronnie and Dee-Dee in the flat. Ed comes up. A surprise. Here's James. And James is like, "Oh, can I stay? I'm still going out with Danny, by the way." He probably doesn't look the same anymore either.
Maybe Nathan Graham plays Danny now.
Maybe. That'd be interesting, wouldn't it? And I've got it looks like I've got a coaching job on the cards.
In America, no less.
In America, because they love football. Dee-Dee, I hope he knows which football he's going to coach.
Yeah, maybe that's why he's ending up staying. Maybe he'll go off to America and then come back a week later.
Guys, I am so embarrassed. When they said American football, I thought they were just being patriotic. I didn't know it's a different sport. What are they up to over there? Yeah. Right, so Dee-Dee has to leave because she's been summoned to the hospital. And Ed tells James that he's worried that Dee-Dee's spending too much time worrying about Lauren and not enough time thinking about herself. So, Lauren's worrying enough for anyone. You don't need to help her out to be sad and miserable about Frankie, for God's sake. She can do it herself. She's very capable at that. That's all she's good at. So
Dee-Dee is a good Christian girl, and she can see this poor little girl suffering. And she just needs to go and stick.
This is why I'm not very good at being religious.
Obviously,
because I wouldn't care.
Obviously, Dee-Dee at the moment is thinking, "I've got a little baby inside of me that's going to be." Well,
she's done this for.
Yeah, so this is the link.
One of the reasons that she kept her child. Anyway,
I think it was the only reason, wasn't it? So
she said God had a plan.
Yeah. Right, I really enjoyed that part of it this week.
So Lauren's there going on about how sad it is, but she's like, "Guess what? I found a match. I'm so sorry that I forced you to kill your baby."
Not too late, is it? Oh, it is.
Sorry.
My bad.
I can't, but this boggled my mind, right? Because of course it was always possible. And she's kind of apologising to Dee-Dee, but really, Dee-Dee should be thrilled that, like, number one, this poor Frankie was in limbo waiting for this transplant or whatever it was.
Transfusion.
Whatever it was, all these, he could die waiting for this. So it's a good job they don't have to wait for Dee-Dee. And they don't even know if it's a match. This is the thing that also... They still don't know, do they?
I thought they did.
Anyway,
test, but
she's
I'm
like,
sure.
Bird in the hand, worth two in the bush and everything. Not making any comments about your biology or, what's down there. I don't know.
I don't
I'd rather do this match.
I don't blame Dee-Dee for her reaction. Because
she's sad.
She obviously, for Frankie, who she does care a lot for, she's clearly happy for him. But this has been a massive kind of gut punch. She's like, well, now what for me?
Mixed feelings about Frankie because that's one of the reasons she doesn't want James to adopt him.
Yeah, no, I know, but she cares about Lauren and Frankie as a human being. She cares about him because she cares for all of God's creatures.
She's also suffering because she's pregnant, and it's suffering and difficult and inconvenient and a kind of messing her life up because she can't do things, she can't eat things, she can't, she's in pain. And now all of the reason for what she was going through, it's okay if you've got a purpose. And normally that would be, I'm going to have a lovely baby. Hopefully that I wanted. But she doesn't even have that. So this was all that was keeping her going, and now it's been taken away.
Yeah, one way or the other, she was still going to put this baby of hers up for adoption. Yeah. But yeah, she's thinking, I could have saved myself that. But then she's probably getting conflicted and said, yeah, but would I have had an abortion? That's not me.
It's a really complicated story, and it's good.
So like I said, that's why I don't blame her for not necessarily reacting in the most expected, politically correct way.
So all the Baileys are trying to have a meal, and Dee-Dee doesn't want to stay because she doesn't feel very well. So she goes, and Ed gets annoyed because he wanted to talk to her about something.
Well, she keeps having twinges this week, doesn't she? Does Dee-Dee? Oh. I think this baby's going to be coming a bit sooner than we think it might be. James
finds Dee-Dee in the flat and says, "Can we talk?" And she says that, I only went through this pregnancy because I was hoping that the baby would be a donor for Frankie, and it's part of God's plan, and now it's been taken away. And James says, well, you just need God to make his plan for you clear, and all this second guessing isn't going to change anything. But this would have been a good point to bring it up, but he chickens out. He phones up Danny and he's like, oh, well, I haven't told her the secret yet, why I'm really here.
Because I don't think that James is religious, is he? I kind of can't remember whether the Baileys as a family were or weren't, but I got the impression in my head that Dee-Dee found religion when she was over in Los Angeles. But I'm sure that Ed and... I know. I'm sure that Ed and Aggie have shown some kind of Christian.
Yes, they did, because didn't it come up when James was gay?
I can't remember.
Or did we just talk about it?
We might have just talked about it.
It's hard to remember.
But I thought if James isn't of a religious bent, I thought that the way that he dealt with his sister and kind of used her language and navigated through it is actually
manipulated her?
No, he's just saying, look, it was a bit of manipulation, to be fair. But the way he said, look, just stop going on about it. It's not about. He could have said it's not about God. Don't be silly. But he was supportive, and I thought that was a point for James in my book.
On Tuesday, Dee-Dee's feeling a bit more positive about God's plan for the baby, and James says, "I got an idea what the plan is that God's thought of is that he wants me and Danny to have the baby."
He's like, God's just got off the phone.
Because honestly...
I'm sorry you missed it.
I was going to not bother if it was going to be a donor baby, because second-hand baby then. But now, it's a fresh baby. I want it. Okay, and God's told me. Dee-Dee's not happy about this, and she says, no, this isn't it. And he says, no, this will be fine. She's really worried about two things. Well, the main thing is that it's Joel's baby, and Joel, she hated him. He was horrible. She's concerned that the baby might end up like him, and she also doesn't want to watch him grow up.
I think that's
part of its life.
Which one do you think is the biggest one? Because I think if I was in Dee-Dee's position here,
is it a boy? Because they're talking about it like it's a boy. Because
I can't remember.
Because he says, "Oh, the child will have two strong role models."
Yeah, strong male role models, he says. I don't know. I can't remember whether it's a boy or a girl or whether we know. I think that for Dee-Dee, yes, it would be a reminder if you were looking after this child that it was Joel. But I think you'd get over that in time. I think your feelings about Joel, who was, an utter git to you, and Lauren, I think that would fade.
It's very complicated.
If that's all that was.
Women have to have their, abuser's baby.
Yeah.
And some women don't ever even think, oh, this baby is could be an abuser, or this baby, it doesn't even
cross their minds. But I'm trying to remember.
And other women do, but they get over it, and some women never do.
I can't remember all the details of what happened. Did Joel abuse Dee-Dee, or did he just, was he just carrying on behind her back with Lauren, who obviously he was abusing her?
Well, it was he was a rapist.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
I would think, and I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, that that might fade over time. But the fact that your brother is looking after and raising your baby, I think that would be something where you think, I am never going to be able to forget that that's my baby. Oh, would they keep it a secret from the kid? Would she still always be Auntie Dee-Dee? Or would she be, oh yeah, she is your mum, but it's all it would get very complicated, wouldn't it?
This is so tough.
But it happens in real life.
If she was into this, then it would be the perfect solution, wouldn't it? But she's not.
Yeah, I just think if I was in Dee-Dee's position, I couldn't watch my child be brought up. And I know they're saying it's in America. At one point in the episode, James says, "Oh, you'd never have to see them again."
Why?
It doesn't work like that, because that's as good as saying you never have to see me again. At least if you've adopted your baby, if that's the decision you've made, it's kind of clear cut and it's out of your life, unless you or the baby, I can't remember how it works, or the child chooses that they want to reconnect. Dee-Dee wouldn't be left with any choice here. He's
basically saying, hey, do you want to lose your baby and your brother?
Yeah.
And
just so that we can have
your brother-in-law.
But on the same side, on the kind of the other side of the coin, I almost don't blame Ed and James for giving it a punch, you know?
Of course you would ask, because this seems like I said, this seems like a really neat solution.
Yeah, it really, really does.
If Dee-Dee, I mean, what...
Poor old Ed,
I think the problem
who wants to have a grandchild.
Is that Dee-Dee didn't necessarily ever say, I don't want children. She just didn't want this child.
No.
And so... it's just so complicated. I feel this is like completely beyond my pay grade.
Dee-Dee is pretty mad at James and Ed when she finds out about their little scheme.
Okay, one thing I can sympathise with, that because all this other stuff is obviously nothing in my experience, but having men tell you what to do with your body or tell you change your mind about something that's to do with your biological processes and things that only a woman, and it should be your decision alone. Having men tell you or impose things on you is one of the worst things, and this happens all the time to women in medical situations and pregnancies and things. Oh, you change your mind. Oh, you won't know how you feel in the future. Or you don't know. You won't no. I know that there are definitely pregnancy hormones and things that affect your thinking, but it's so obnoxious to be told.
I wonder what Aggie would think, and if Aggie had also been on, still on the show and on Ed's side with it, would that have, made Dee-Dee try and understand a little bit more?
There's so much guilt in this, because Dee-Dee is the sort of person who cares about pleasing her family, and especially her father, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
And so to know, there must be this real emotional weight in her to think, I'm going against my father's wishes here, but I cannot do it. Like, how awful would you feel knowing that, because it's all coming back up again. Like, she knew that her family didn't want her to give the baby up because they wanted to have another family member. And now there's another opportunity and they're all arguing with her about, oh no, you should let, it's like, it should be her decision without feeling guilty about whatever she decides.
Should James have been a little bit more like just dropping a few hints in, sitting around with a cup of tea and going, oh, I'll tell you what, one thing that me and Danny want, a baby.
Oh, do you know anyone who's got a baby? Do you know it'd be really lovely if we were related to it?
And then she could have suggested it and he'd be like,
what about this one?
Never thought of that.
Yeah, that, I see, you're pregnant.
Yeah, so
you're never supposed to say anything, are you?
No, you're not.
It's interesting.
I don't completely blame them, because she could have said, yes, that's great. And if James and Danny want this kid, and James makes out on Wednesday or Tuesday, I don't remember when it was, that they have been trying for a while.
They've tried adopting.
They've been through various things that haven't worked. It's why wouldn't you ask if you thought there was a slither of a chance?
Of course you would. Because she didn't have this baby because she wanted to give it up for adoption, did she?
No.
It's not like that's the perfect solution for her. She just didn't want to raise it. It's really it's so complicated.
The question is, at the end of the day, I mean, I don't know where you're thinking about this. Maybe this should have been the discussion we have once we've actually said about what happened. Oh. Do you think that Dee-Dee is actually going to keep the baby, or is James going to have it, or is she actually gonna adopt it away?
Well, let's just get through it. Let's get through it.
It feels like a perfect soap ending.
James is like, give me the baby, you'll never see me again.
Yeah.
Which some people would find that appealing, but she doesn't.
Thought I got rid of you the last time, actually.
She's talking the idea through with Ronnie in the cafe, and he is not that against it. I mean, why he doesn't care either way. It's just another gift he have to buy, probably.
He can afford it.
He says, look, I know you'll make the best decision. Then he drops Ed in it, because he reveals that Ed's the one who phoned James up and told him to come. Yes. So Dee-Dee finds Ed and James in the pub and accuses them of conspiring behind her back. She's really mad about it. She says, I don't want Giles' offspring anywhere near my family. I want you to leave me alone, and that's it. And she's like, ooh. a twinge again.
Ooh, my pregnancy twinge.
So
something going on here.
Debbie says, I'll come home with you. So she takes her to the flat and she makes her fennel tea, which is the worst insult I can imagine. And she says, look, it's nobody's business but yours. You decide what you want to do. But, you know, the Bailey boys love you. They were only doing what they thought was for the best. And she leaves as James comes back and she says, oh, sorry about upsetting you. And she says, well, get out. You're not staying here anymore. Sorry.
In the nicest possible way.
Well, not in the nicest possible way. Just
I don't see this as causing any kind of long-standing massive rift between the Baileys, because unlike many of the families on the street,
awkward?
It will make things a bit awkward. But
at Christmas, you'd be like, oh, it'd be nice to have a baby around, wouldn't it, Dee-Dee?
I honestly think that
you know best.
Relatively traditional family values are very, very important to the Baileys, and I think that they are a very close-knit bunch, and I think that any fallouts between them are going to be temporary.
So on Wednesday, Dee-Dee's having a meeting with the adoption lady because there's supposed to be some prospective parents that are being scheduled. And can I just point out that this would have been, if she goes through with allowing James to adopt the baby, this will be exactly what James went through when he was trying to adopt and it fell through.
Yeah.
So she's arranging it. She's like, yeah, brilliant. I don't need anyone with me. I don't, I'm all up for it.
Yeah, and don't make the prospective parents be someone who lives near the street just for the drama. Let's have somebody miles away, please.
Well, that's what she wants. She doesn't... Yeah. Maybe America. So in the cafe later, James hears Dee-Dee telling Sarah about this meeting, and he's like, oh, I'll come with you if you want. And she says no. And then Sarah offers to go. Of course, Sarah, she's such a nosy cow, Sarah. I think she's fascinated with Dee-Dee.
I don't think she wants any excuse to get an hour off work.
Oh, I've got to go to an adoption meeting, Carla, sorry. So James comes back and he's not happy to hear that Sarah's going instead of him. Although, why would you want him to come? When you've just said no, he's going to be there staring daggers at the parents the whole time, isn't he?
You don't want this baby,
I think this baby's funny because I saw her.
Somebody with those
she was
genes.
doing all kinds of
Dee-Dee.
drugs and alcohol and eating. I saw her eating sashimi the other day, so just saying, just warning you. So anyway, in the pub later, James asks Sarah if she can get Dee-Dee to come round to this baby idea, and she says, "Don't give up on her. I'm sure she'll come around," which was the most patronising thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, I know.
Come around like it's the only obvious solution, and like everything that Dee-Dee said is irrelevant.
Yeah,
everything she said is true. She might change her mind, and I don't know where this is going. I can't see it's going to end with her adopting the baby to somebody, and we never see it again. I just can't see that happening because this is Coronation Street.
But then they might
and
do,
what's
and
the
then they
maximum
come
drama?
back in a year's. We a few visits every now and then, like we do with Charlie and Lexi. It's not.
The maximum drama
Coronation Street
is that she has the baby. She says to James, I'm going to give the baby to you for adoption, and then she doesn't want to give the baby up when it's born, or James decides not to leave and says, you can't tell me what to do, and Dee-Dee's like, it was part of our agreement.
So where if you were to put your money somewhere now on where this baby's going to end up,
it's going to stay with the Baileys,
James.
Which kind of annoys me because it undermines Dee-Dee's bodily autonomy. But I can't see a way of them doing a satisfying. Like it's. But
she only doesn't want the baby
story
because she thinks it's going to always remind her of Joel. And like I said, I think that. But
you can't know
those feelings. You can't know, but. She might come around to it. She might.
Well, there are lots of This is the thing. I really hate talking about this because I don't know. I only know what I read, and I don't read everything. I don't know everyone's experience, and I know that people are listening to this who have gone through similar experiences, and I don't want anyone to feel, like undermined or. I try to understand every perspective. I don't know what I'm talking about. Everyone knows I don't know what I'm talking about with this, but I do know that some women will find. When they have a baby, the whole rush of love that they didn't expect, but also sadly many women don't feel that, and that's why some women have postpartum depression because they don't get that, and everyone tells them they will. Oh, when it's born, you'll love it. Instant. Oh, fall in love instantly. It takes months for some women to get to that stage.
Yeah, I don't want there to be a story where James stays on the street, Danny comes back, they're having the baby, and then eventually at some point down the line, Dee-Dee will start getting hankerings and thinking
this is what
that
will
she
happen,
wants
I'm
the
afraid.
baby. I'm not interested in that.
I don't feel like this. To me, feels like a trodden path, because we had this with Gary and
Izzy and Tina,
yes.
the surrogacy. Yeah, a little bit, innit?
It just feels the same. I mean, it feels the same.
But Tina ended up getting killed, so that
took
her out of the issue, didn't it?
Well, I'm just going to say to Dee-Dee, she should have thought about this before she's got so far through this. But the Weatherfield Dead Mothers Society grows every year.
Maybe that's why she wants to get rid of the baby. Maybe it's some kind of survival tactic.
Yeah. Think about it. Think about all the women who've been in the show for years and years and years, who are big, massive, popular characters. Most of them don't have kids. Like Carla, Leanne, Toya.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
It's okay if you have a baby.
Jenny had the right
idea.
She drowned it when it was young.
She's another example. I think in Coronation Street there are very few people with living mothers or living mums with living children. It's either the Weatherford, the Dead Mothers Society, are full of people who have tragic backstories to explain why they're screwed up, or women who've had tragedies with having children.
Anyway, I quite enjoyed this story. I like the Bailey family. They're no plats, but it's nice to see them getting a bit more family time together. With
I do think this is
almost somewhat relatable dramas that don't involve guns or drugs. Or
you can see everybody's perspective in this. Yeah. I wonder. I think because we don't have a stake in this game at all, do we? So to me, I'm like, everybody feels as valid about how they're feeling. If you've been through this. If you've been there, probably people are listening to this who wanted to be adoptive parents, thinking, I think Dee-Dee's being really selfish. For poor James, he's got a chance here. He might never be able to adopt because it might.
If Dee-Dee decides to keep the baby, James is going to be absolutely gutted. If James gets the baby, then Dee-Dee's always going to be kind of looking at it from afar and pining. So one way or the other,
I can't. And
then neither of them are going to be happy.
Some people might be listening to this who have gone through a pregnancy, given up for adoption, who think James is being an arse about it. It's so complicated, but I think if you get told no in quite uncertain terms, I think the answer's no, isn't it?
But that's what makes it interesting for me, apart from the fact that Lauren is involved, which I couldn't give two hoots about at the moment. But maybe she's taken herself out of the picture now. She's accepted somebody else's marrow.
Lauren's like, James, I heard you want this baby. This baby's quite rubbish. Do you want it?
Yeah, I want to try again.
I'll sell it. She could use the cash and move up to live with Max.
Oh yeah, happily ever after. Right, let's move on to the next story.
Oh dear, this was terrible.
No, it's fine. Let's move on to the next one. The Cassie story, Plumbing the Depths. So this is the story that we were raving about last week. It was definitely my favourite story of last week. Sad that we didn't get as much of it. It was mostly kind of Monday and then it was pretty much done. But I was just mostly pleased that Evelyn's sticking around. I didn't expect to see her for more than probably an episode, did you?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I was like, it'll be months before we see her back again, but no, she can't get enough of the place, obviously.
Clearly not. I mean, when we did the predictions for the year, I said I bet that she's going to be in no more than 40 in a year, I think, or 30. I can't remember what I said, but it still might be. But yeah, I don't want to put all my eggs in. Count my chickens before they're hatched. I know. But yeah, both actresses absolutely cracking, and I felt shades of the first scene that Claire filmed with Evelyn, the one in the hospital, and Evelyn
Sweeney filmed.
Yes, with Evelyn, with Maureen Lipperman. Yes, you know the one I mean, everybody. The very, very long scene where they just shut, especially both of them, but Maureen Lipperman absolutely outstanding, and just her weariness and just tired and fed upness.
It just goes to show you that
desperation.
You can actually fill in a lot of the backstory of a soap with just having fantastic actors. Yeah,
with the right performances, with the right actors, with the right script, you can absolutely can. And I just totally feel more Evelyn's pain of having this shameful daughter that she time and time again has tried to help get back on the straight and narrow again, and is just let down every time. But because she loves her so much, and because she is such a good lady, she doesn't give up. She'll keep trying.
Compelled against her better instincts.
Yeah, exactly.
By this very human love that she can't ever divest herself of.
No.
Which is it's really sad if you think about it from Cassie's perspective, because she knows that she's constantly disappointing her mum.
Yeah.
Like every time she messes up, she's back right, you know, in that probably feeling like a little girl again, having her mum. Imagine having Evelyn as your mum. Like how stressful that is. They're both really fantastic characters.
It's the fact that
just so interesting.
I know Evelyn isn't the same as Blanche as much as everyone would like to. Well, some people would like to say that they are. Evelyn is often at her best with her withering put downs and feeling superior to other people, or just kind of shaking her head and tutting. So to show, I mean, she's not used to being loving and affectionate. And we saw it with Arthur, didn't we, when she fell in love with him, or there was a little mini romance around COVID time, and it wasn't like her. It was like she was coming out of her comfort zone to let her guard down, and it makes her feel very uncomfortable. And I think it's making her feel uncomfortable to be motherly towards Cassie, but she can't help herself because it's comes so naturally to her. So I've absolutely loved it, even though it was, as I say, the tail end of it. Really, we left last week's episode where Cassie was in the Villain's Alley on the phone to someone, arranging for something to be brought to her for next week, and I was convinced. I was like, Tracy's misunderstood. She thinks that she maybe she just organised I don't know, a surprise party or whatever. But
maybe she was like trying to get some like paint to put down to sort of spruce
the valley up a bit.
The alley up.
But yeah, no, we do find that on Monday she is up to no good. But it could have been she was organising a surprise birthday, because it was Evelyn's birthday on Monday, wasn't it? I don't think they said how old she was. A lady never tells. But yeah, she's got a nice proper pen, and that what it comes to when you're old. Your most exciting presents are a fountain pen.
Oh, a fountain pen?
Was it a fountain pen? I don't know. Or was it just a fancy biro?
It was just a really nice rollerball.
Oh well, I suppose it's useful if you're a student, isn't it? Everyone else is probably sitting in the lecture theatre with their MacBooks and what have you these days.
Can I just say, you're definitely speaking like a man who's never had a nice pen.
I have had nice pens before.
You stole my nice pen. I don't know where it's gone. And it wrote really nicely.
I've had sometimes nice pens as gifts from children at the end of the school year.
Right, there's a difference between a pen that looks nice and a nice pen, because a pen that writes really well, I don't think you've ever experienced it. Otherwise, you wouldn't be quite so flippant, mister.
Anyway, she's got this pen. What she really wants for her birthday, though, is for Tyrone to let Cassie back in the house. And Tyrone's like, no, she can go to hell. I'm not having any of it.
Rude.
And Evelyn tries to guilt trip him about it a little bit by talking about, your mum's an addict. She's such a tragic... but Tyrone's like, no, I'm sorry, I'm not having it. I've given her enough chances. Not a chance. Obviously, doesn't take too long for him to change his mind somewhat on that. So Cassie's on the phone to someone again in the precinct later, and she's like, I need to meet you today. Need this stuff. I need it now. And she's found by Roy, who just so happens to be walking there later. What do you reckon Roy was doing in the precinct? Bit of a ice cream and a waffle at Sweet Enough, or
I think he was pawning off some trains.
Do you reckon?
Yeah.
That would be desperate times.
He's getting into a new hobby, maybe.
Maybe. I think he was going to what's the bakers called? The Gregory Close. Rutland's. That I think he was maybe either trying their rolls just to see how they compared to Roy's rolls, or maybe it was.
Oh yeah, maybe he's doing a bit of research.
Industrial sabotage, maybe. But anyway,
like,
he sees Cassie there.
What new flavours have they got? Pickle, cheese and tomato. Well, it's never going to catch on.
Sees Cassie there, and he can see that she's up to no good with this dealer that's there, and he tries to pull her away, and the guy runs off, doesn't he? Cassie gives chase, and he's got her money, and so they have a bit of a tussle, and then she bangs her head on the wall, and it all just goes tragically wrong for her. But luckily Roy's there, he's first aid trained, so everything's going to be okay.
But she doesn't want to go to the medical centre. There's no. You can have all the training in the world, Michael, but you can only say you should go to the hospital.
Yeah, exactly. Roy, by the way, has been invited to. He's inviting Roy to a birthday meal with him later as well. So I think that comes up later. Who's inviting who to a birthday meal? Evelyn and Roy can have a birthday meal together later.
Lovely.
So Roy's there back at the precinct looking after Cassie. She doesn't want to go to the medical centre, don't want the police involved. Roy's like, no, you really must get yourself checked out. So, I mean, what's her reasons for not wanting to get checked out? Has she just given up on herself?
Maybe she's still high.
But they're not gonna, they're not gonna not look after her if she was.
Not,
if she got drugs in her system.
That doesn't mean that you want to go and tell everybody.
I suppose,
and have it written down.
I think she is she's clearly incredibly ashamed of herself. So maybe it is just like a little ounce of pride that she's got there.
Don't know, whether the doctors will, if someone comes to visit you and the doctors will say, oh yeah, she's drugging again. I know they shouldn't do, but they wouldn't necessarily know what's private.
Yeah. So Roy goes to this birthday meal with Evelyn. He eventually confesses that he's been there with Cassie, who meanwhile is sneaking into number 9, sees Evelyn's purse on the table, and just as she's reaching into it, Evelyn comes home, of course. Would you like to tell me what the hell is going on, says Evelyn. Cassie, it's desperation, isn't it? Do you think that Cassie is the sort of person who might, rob someone in the street, kind of jump them? Well, or is she more... take advantage of somebody that and because it's easier. I don't want
to be too stereotypical here, but I genuinely don't think women very often, the highwaymen with people.
No, you're right.
Not an individual woman of her age is not going to be jumping on people. Who's she going to steal it off of? She's already nicked it off of Evelyn. She don't need to jump on her in the street.
She's just she really is plumbing the depth, like I said. So anyway, she's Evelyn's like, what's going on? Roy's told me what happened in the precinct. What are you doing? And Cassie's, it's not going to happen again. I swear. And even I will. It will though, won't it? And this is where it kind of turns into being like that scene before, because in the hospital scene back. Or was it 2-3 years ago? I've lost track now. Evelyn's just weary of saying this will happen again. You just, I can't remember the lines that she used, but there were some brilliant ones just showing that this is a cycle that just goes round and round and round, and it felt different enough to not be just a copy and paste job of it, but I totally got the vibes. And Cassie says, look, and from what's been going on about Ken, I swear I didn't mean to hurt him. I just wanted him to need me. She knows it was unforgivable, and even worse, she did it when she had a clear head too. But then before Evelyn's like, sorry, there's no excuse. There is absolutely no reason for you to have done that. Conversation turns to the drugs the other day with Tracy. Cassie swears that she didn't take them from Tracy. Tracy forced them on her. Oh, do we think that Cassie... Yeah, did she take those drugs after she got them out of the bin the other day, do you think?
Well, I suppose why would she be asking for some more?
Yeah, that's true. Sad, so sad to think. So
maybe Rob will shoot Tracy in the face.
Maybe he will. Later on, and Tyrone's there in the house as well. Evelyn's begging him to take Cassie back, because if they turn their back on her, they're going to be. She said, "You're turning it on me too. My number one loyalty is to my daughter." What do you think? What do you think of the decision that she made? Like Cassie versus Tyrone, and she seems to have sided with Cassie there.
Well, she's right in that if Tyrone was picking between Evelyn and Hope, he would pick Hope, wouldn't he? What do you think?
Yeah, I think maybe Evelyn's in that way saying, you were doing fine before I came here. I trust that you would do fine if I was on my own, but I know that Cassie wouldn't. Because she wouldn't. Left to her own devices, Cassie would spiral even further.
Cassie needs support.
She needs support,
even
and
when
Tyrone's
got
got
it,
support.
She still makes really bad decisions.
Yeah. So it's... And Evelyn, obviously, hugely cares for Tyrone.
Do you know the thing about Evelyn is that she's probably sick and tired of feeling like the only person who cares about family, because she'll go to the end of the earth for Cassie because that's her daughter, and all she's asking for is for the family to stick together and look after everybody in the family. And she's probably feeling a bit like, Tyrone, you've got to do a bit of the lifting here, mate, because I'm an old lady,
exactly,
and I'm doing my own thing. I can't be the only one responsible for Cassie. She's your mum. Not that I'm saying whether that's right or wrong. I'm just saying she's probably starting to feel a bit like, I can't be the only one who cares in this family about people. Even though they're showing different ways of caring. And you can also argue that maybe Evelyn might be enabling Cassie. I don't know if that's true, but there's different ways to support people. You don't necessarily have to put up with all their behaviour and give them a place to stay if they're doing drugs, etc. But certainly what Tyrone is doing is not supportive. But he's prioritising his children and his wife.
And this woman, came into his life after 40 years.
It's not a mother who raised him.
No,
is it? It's a different kind of relationship.
Does he love her, or does he just get on with her because
I don't know.
She's she is his mum, his real mum. I wonder whether he's thinking you're worse than Jackie.
I don't know.
Bring back Jackie, because he would go back to her every now and then, wouldn't he? And then he'd wash his hands of her because she was absolutely useless as well.
It's kind of like Terry Duckworth and Vera and Jack, except that
role reversal.
There's no, is Evelyn Vera and Tyrone is Jack? I don't think so, because Vera was blinkered.
Yeah. And Evelyn knows exactly.
Evelyn's absolutely got her number.
Yeah. But
it's interesting how even though they're not Duckworths, obviously, but it still feels like there's a family dynamic of this kind of haunting of.
Yeah, you're right. The same within the same four walls.
Yeah.
Similar. Yeah. Family feuds are going on.
Generational trauma.
Yeah. Oh, maybe it is the ghost of Vera that's haunting number 9.
She's just going, why do you have it? You can have stress as well. Here you go.
I don't think that Tyrone owes Cassie his loyalty.
Who owes anyone anything? This is what boggles my mind, okay? As somebody who will only ever see their family reduce. There's no new people coming in my family. I feel like people who have family are blessed, and I think that a lot of them know, but a lot of them don't appreciate it. And so it does kind of also blow my mind a little bit that you can have somebody come along and go, oh yeah, I'm related to you by blood, and suddenly unlocks this kind of magical power that they have over you. And I've got friends that are probably I'll be closer to when I'm older than my family, but who it just really is really fascinating, because she completely gave up on Tyrone.
Yeah.
Well, or I can't remember. Well, did Evelyn intervene? I can't remember.
Well, no, when
Tyrone was a baby.
When he was a baby, I think
she
that
took
Evelyn
her away.
Intervened there. Yeah.
So,
but Cassie still, at any point during those 40 years,
there are so many invisible ties that humans have with each other that are very complicated. But the one thing that we can all understand is a family tie. Like, you could have ties between colleagues, or say soldiers in a war. That's a really deep relationship. Who can forget Quinny? Not me. But no, not everyone can relate to that. But almost everyone can relate to this kind of weird tie. And who doesn't have someone in their family who is a complete disaster, who turns everything into muck, and you still feel like you're obliged to tidy up after them.
I think Tyrone's issue here is that genuinely, deep down, he is a really nice guy, isn't he? He always has been. Even from when he first came into the show in 98, 99, he was a good boy, really, at heart. He acted tough sometimes, but he wasn't. It was total scrappy do.
Like Bobby.
No, not at all.
He was a pervert like Bobby, lusting after Toya. Remember that?
Only a little bit. He was a really decent bloke, and he's always been a decent bloke, and he was very gentlemanly. And I think when Maria walked out on him, when it ended between him and Maria, I think she realised that she lost out on being able to settle down with a proper gent. So for somebody like that to go against, I think, his nature, because I think in his nature he would want to forgive her and go, oh okay, have another chance. But maybe it's been partly through what he's seen with Terry and Vera in the past, or I suppose, or with Jackie. That's I'm not
going to let myself get dragged in. And you could also argue from the perspective of Evelyn, she really should know better here, and maybe she should be trying to protect Tyrone a bit better by not expecting him to pick up the slack.
But I think all Evelyn's saying is she just needs a roof under her head. Over her head. Stick her on the chimney. and then I'll be able to help out with the rest, kind of. Because she says, look, if I have to give up the grandson that I love, the girl that I love, the university degree that I love, to keep Cassie clean again, then I will. So literally, she will do anything to keep this daughter of hers clean.
About what she means by keeping clean, because Cassie and any addict is one bad dose away from death.
Yeah.
Like,
as we saw with Peter.
It's so unsafe. You don't know what could happen. She could be attacked.
Yeah.
Anything could happen to her. It's basically a matter of life and death to Evelyn. She's not stupid. She knows how dangerous it is, and she's not going to let Cassie go down that path.
I mean, I think if I were Evelyn, if I were somebody of advancing years, I would be thinking, how much longer can I look after her? What's going to happen to Cassie after I'm gone? Surely that thought would have gone through her mind at the moment. So it's even more important that she acts now and tries to somehow get her off the drugs for good.
Well, you'll never do that, will you?
No.
You can never be like, oh, solve that problem, let's move on to the next one. What she wants to do is to recruit Tyrone to this task so that she can go in peace, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I need to know
that you'll look after her, even if she makes stupid decisions again and again and again.
Because she will. I
need to pass you the torch here. No,
and it's so cynical. And I'm just, to be clear, we are talking about fictional characters here.
They are ones that I do really, really love.
I really love these characters. It's very difficult. A lot of these things that we're talking about today are very serious things that probably affect people who are listening, and it's very difficult to separate the real people that this could be happening to the fictional characters, and sometimes we have to be flippant about it because it's...
I don't think we're being flippant.
Well, I know, but I'm talking about them in a very frank and blunt way. If my friend came to me and went, I've got a sister who, and she's a drug addict and my mum is this and that, I wouldn't be like bluntly going, oh, well, you know, the family ties that bond us. You know, this is a story.
Yeah.
And they're exploring some very real topics.
I'd really like that.
But we don't have experience with this. Again,
no.
It's another thing
I'd really like there
to
be a scene which is just Evelyn and Tyrone kind of telling
Evelyn and Tyrone?
Yeah, saying, this is the reason why I'm doing it. I need you to help out. And you've got no, as I said, no, you don't have to do it. You're not bound to it. But please, for me, can you look after your mum when I'm gone? It
was very interesting too, because there were I'm pretty sure I'm remembering that there was definitely a scene where all three were in the room together, Evelyn, Cassie and Tyrone, but Cassie looked like the little girl who was being told off, her eyes were downcast and she was like in the headmaster's office being told off, and it's like a complete role reversal because Tyrone's been asked to parent his mother by his grandmother. And it is really hard because, you know, in an ideal world, Cassie wouldn't need all of this support. But what can you do when somebody needs it, and you could give it to them?
I do wonder in the long term, like, what's going to happen to Cassie?
And the thing is about her too, she doesn't have a very she is really manipulative, and she was cruel to what she did with Ken.
Yeah.
But she doesn't have she's not hard to get along with. She is sneaky, you've got to keep an eye on her, but she's not one of these toxic people who will constantly undermine you, or there are lots of people like that who are addicts who are just really unpleasant.
Yeah.
And so it's not like you're being asked to completely give up your peace and your life for as long as she's alive.
No.
You just have to kind of babysit her.
Yeah, it's like I say, I was wondering what's going to happen ultimately to her, because nobody stays in the show forever. Well, almost.
Do you think she'll die?
Apart from Ken, even though he's trying to get poisoned up. But yeah, is she going to die, or is she going to go to prison? Because it feel really narratively unsatisfying if she moves away, because I'd be thinking, oh, she's just going to fall off the wagon again off screen.
Has there ever been a long-term Corrie character who has died of an addiction? I don't think there has.
So. I mean, Peter got pretty close a few times.
But I think they always get redeemed and saved. And I wonder if Coronation Street would ever
they get redeemed, but like even with Peter, you think he has been saved.
Well, yeah,
and then you know a few years pass, and then he has that story again. I mean, even Abby, I suppose, is similar to that. I don't know.
Do you see what I'm saying? Coronation Street is so dark. Everyone says constantly how dark it is. You know, we had International Happiness Day this week, and we had people with guns in their faces crying on a sofa and stuff. Because why not? But like, with how dark Corrie's going, and what sensational they want to be, and how much they want to push things, is it possible that Cassie could end her life on the show because of her addiction?
I don't know. I just get the feeling that because of the caliber of actress that Claire Sweeney is, and the fact that she likes to do many different projects, and she's presenting one day, singing the next, acting. I literally have got no idea what her long-term goal is for Coronation Street, but I wouldn't be surprised if in a few years she says, I want to move on now. I don't want that to happen. I do not want that to happen. That wouldn't surprise me.
She's definitely the sort of person who could bob in and out of it, but wouldn't it be sort of an incredible legacy? I don't know why I'm advocating for this, because I would not want it to happen. But if I was the producer of Coronation Street,
made me think about it.
I would be thinking to myself, what's the most dramatic way to end this character's time on the show? Have we not seen? And how?
Tell you what, Alan Halser would be great in that story if that
and
were
how
to happen.
how you know that you talk about social responsibility and raising awareness and things. Is it actually more responsible for Coronation Street to show what can actually happen and what happens to quite a lot of addicts? Because in Corrie, it just feels like you skirt the line so far, and if you're a main character, you'll always be fine. Because we've had so many characters have addiction problems. You know, Peter, Carla, Abby. Yeah. And they've got so far, so close. Even Ali, Dr. Ali, you know, they always overcome it because that's what we kind of want to see. We want to see people triumph over. Yeah,
but to show the harsh reality. I mean, maybe it's something one of the other soaps has done, possibly. I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, I wouldn't, like I said, I'm not trying to advocate for it, but I am pondering the future of this character, and it would be really sad because she's such a fascinating person, and nobody wants anyone to.
She just
to
needs
end up
Steve
like that.
to look after her, doesn't she? Look, anyway, that was almost it for the story. Really, we learned that Ken's found out about Tracy trying to drug Abby. He's telling her she needs to be out of the house by the time he comes back, which makes it all the more difficult that actually she's being held at gunpoint, so she can't really
Sorry,
leave.
Dad, I couldn't
really
leave. I was
the
being held hostage. Actually,
I don't.
What's going on with me?
I think Ken in the past. I don't think this is the first time that Ken's told Tracy that he wants her out, but he's a big softie. He'll take her back at some point as a bit of unnecessary cliffhanger.
I think Evelyn would say, "Oh, you think you've got problems?"
Yeah, and then on Wednesday there was a few scenes of Cassie trying to ingratiate herself to Tyrone by making the tea or something, and
making it sausage and mash.
Yeah, he's not impressed, but he's trying to make the best out of the situation by the end of the scene. So it looks like he could be coming round to it a little bit, but yeah. Great stuff. I know not everybody loved the story, but it just was right on my alley, I'll tell you what.
Speaking of cheerful stories where somebody might die at the end.
But that's a really good way of describing this story, because it still was kind of cheerful, wasn't it? Not in a sarcastic way. It was not fun to watch isn't the right word, but it was in some way heart-lifting. And I smiled at this story on numerous occasions because Julie is lovely. This is the Carpe Diem storyline.
Can I just say how benevolent I was towards the Paul storyline? You know, I let them kill that man off with a smile. I let them explore the tragedies, the highs and the lows, the futile nature of human existence, the cherry blossom idea of fleeting beauty of love when you know that one of you is going to die before the other. I didn't need it again. 4 months later.
They got a formula that works, Gemma. That's how soap rolls.
You smile through your tears story about some beloved character.
This is just like the stiff upper lip storyline.
This is like the Blitz.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Keep calm and carry on. I've just got cancer, stage 4. What is it? Where's she got it?
Sarcoma all over the place.
Sarcastic sarcoma. But go on. Do you want to run down what was going on at number 11 this week?
Well, Sean on Tuesday comes into the cab office for a chat talking about Dylan. And Eileen's like, family's everything. When they're okay, you're okay. And Sean's not picking up on any of this. drama she's trying to dish out. Debbie comes in next. She's annoyed because she's like, I booked a taxi a week ago. You haven't turned up. And Eileen says, oh, we haven't got a record of it. You got to actually book it. And she's like, I didn't book it. And they have a little fight.
Yeah, I didn't know whether to put
Debbie flounces off.
Yeah, this story, obviously, we got a bit more of the Debbie stuff later, but this ends...
It's to do with Eileen.
Yeah, the story collides and then separates this week.
So Brian comes into the Rovers. He's all done up posh. And Eileen comes in not after him and sits down with Debbie. And Debbie is saying that... Debbie's there and she's saying, Eileen was so rude. She shouldn't be allowed to work in customer-facing environment. She's a surly beggar. She's grim by name. She's made it
25 years despite not really being the sort of person who should work in a customer-facing environment. But...
Grim by name, grim by nature, she says. So it's very tense between Eileen and Debbie. And she's, Debbie's saying to her, I've got enough on my plate at the moment. I'm going through a really tough time. My brother's just been diagnosed with cancer. And then Eileen's like, well, so's my sister.
And she plays her a little raspberry, doesn't she? She's like, so's my sister. That's totally, that's very Eileen, kind of being a bit petty and childish. Because, this was what we saw with her and Gail all this time, and I think she's been looking for a new sparring partner since she's disappeared off to France at Christmas. She may well have found her here, and she's totally the sort of person who will say something childish before her brain is fully engaged, and that's exactly what happened here.
Well, it just so happens that Julie's behind her, and she's now outed her as a cancer patient.
That was a shocking revelation. Not that I was surprised that Julie had it, but yeah, the fact that Eileen announced it in the middle of the pub, that was for me a jaw dropping. Oh my god, I can't believe she's actually done that. As much as it is in her character, she's gonna have a whole lot of grovelling and apologising to do now.
Who could have resisted that though?
I know. I
wouldn't have been able to keep my mouth shut, I'm afraid.
Do you think you wouldn't?
No.
I don't know whether I'd have been able to grip my teeth a little bit.
No, I would have said it ages ago. I would be crying all the time. Right, so Julie's sitting with Brian and he's saying to her, when were you going to tell me? And she's like, maybe I would never have told you. I don't want to talk about it all the time. And Brian says, is there anything I can do? Be a friend? And she says that I'm not going... I'm not shuffling off this planet with any mistakes. You're a good man. I'm lucky to have you in my life.
It's so lovely because that it wasn't just Eileen announcing it to everybody. That everybody included Brian, who was clearly thinking he had a shot of rekindling what he once had with
his
Julie.
Future, possible future with the woman that he loved, gone.
Yeah, and Brian isn't exactly a ladies' man, is he? He doesn't have the most success with women. And he thinks this is someone who I was really, really happy with, and fortune has dropped her back into my life. It's like I've been given a second chance, and I can imagine him kind of picturing his future there. And the fact that he'd done himself up in his posh suit, got the flowers tragic. And everything, and then just dashed, gone.
Yeah.
Although, I can't remember, straight away when the cancer revelation comes out, I don't know whether it's my sister's dying of cancer.
I think
it's more like she's got cancer. She's been dying.
Does say that she's dying.
Yeah, I think at this point that she does. But Julie, it's all about putting a brave face on it, isn't it? Because later on she kind of breaks down and says she can't. But she's even having to do it with Brian.
She's trying to be positive with Brian, but when she gets home, Eileen's apologising to her, and she's going, "Okay, it had to come out at some point, I guess." And then she says that Brian said, I was the strongest person he's ever known, but it's all an act. I'm terrified. I don't want to die. And then she starts crying, and so does Eileen. And it was just horrible.
Well, I can't remember whether you said earlier when we mentioned it, but you didn't look at any articles of people saying, I think Julie is faking it.
No, I didn't read it, no.
No, I just
don't think it's true.
It can't be. It can't be. It doesn't feel in any way in Julie's character to fake that. But she's a total what you see is what you get person. There's no kind of sneakiness or... I know that sometimes people will think that they've got something wrong with them and it's not by any malice, but it just doesn't sit right with me for Julie's personality. And I think it would be a bit of a slap in the face when we've been... with the sort of storyline that this is, where a character has got an end point in sight. As viewers, we're kind of grieving them already, aren't we? Like we did with Hayley. We knew that it was coming. And for Corrie to turn around and say, just kidding, she's going to be fine. that'd really be awful. But then equally, I'd be happy that she was alive again.
She's not dead yet.
Just very, very sad that the storylines even happened. Really,
the only way they could get out of this is if she had been tricked or led to believe.
Yes,
because she was saying, she's paying money out. She's gone to these healers. She's doing some kind of therapy that sounded not, NHS-y.
Not NHS approved.
I don't. Because the NHS does so much good stuff, I've got this kind of inbuilt bias against anything that is not kind of official, if you know what I mean. So, not alternative therapies, but anything that isn't, unless it's private healthcare, I think it's probably a crock. Like all this experimental stuff. And I'm not saying it is wrong. I'm just saying, like, I have this bias in my head that if you're not going to an NHS doctor to get something done, and I know the NHS messes up all the time, that I wonder if they were to go down that route, it would make sense to me that she'd been going to people who'd been lying to her. But I just would find that very tiresome, to be honest with you, because it feel like, again, like we had been tricked as viewers, and I don't like that. We've said before about being tricked by the show. I find it very obnoxious because a soap should not be tricking you,
especially with a character that is so beloved.
Well, especially with cancer.
Yeah.
With sort of terminal cancer storylines, you're going to sit there and say 1 in 2 of us are going to get cancer. Let's not have a storyline where you trick everyone into being sad about something. I don't think that's what they're doing.
And would it be spreading the message to people with cancer? Would it make someone go, oh, maybe I was misinformed, and give them a bit of hope when there isn't? It's not there, no.
So Wednesday, Julie says, let's go to lunch.
Oh yeah, she tricks her, doesn't she?
But actually it's a trick. She goes to the Rovers and Julie is actually lured her there with Todd to talk about the funeral. And Eileen's trying to keep it together. She's not prepared for this. I don't know why the surprise funeral planning party seemed like a good idea. But they're both drinking wine.
I think Julie
Eileen's
knows.
Getting more drunk.
Julie's being very practical about it and knows that she wants Eileen to be involved. And this is the only way. But
she's
Eileen just
put it off.
Yeah, just by more and more wine.
So Julie's like, okay, well, let's get started. I want to be cremated, and I want you, Todd and George, to handle everything. And Eileen's like, I can't hear any more of this, I've got to go. She walks out and goes back home, and Todd finds her in the kitchen and says, what's happening? And Eileen says, I know I can't cope with this, I just can't do it. So over dinner, Julie and Eileen chat with each other, and Julie's saying, like, I'm so sorry I didn't tell you from the beginning. You don't have to plan any of the funeral stuff. I'm sorry that I landed that on you, but let's just do fun stuff. That's what I want to do. Before I die, I want to have fun with you.
So this is where the story's going to go now. Hopefully,
I'm sorry, but I kind of...
some lovely scenes with those two, but...
Man, the pool stuff, I really enjoyed it, but I'm really sorry to say this. I feel like I'm now being manipulated by this storyline. I feel like that somebody went, do you know, that worked really well? Let's do it again, but with different characters. And I know this is my own personal hang-up because I felt the same way about Titanic. Don't manipulate me into crying about things that are tragic, and I know they're going to be tragic, okay? Don't try to make sad things sadder by hamming it up. It's life and death. We all know it's going to happen.
I think I've got great faith in both of these characters and actresses. Yeah. I think I'm probably going to enjoy it.
I'm just very cynical, and I hate being like the first sequencing up. You can get bent. What the hell are you trying to do to me? This is a cartoon. Why is this woman dead? Why is this old man crying?
Yeah, I think I'm going to enjoy it, but I'm going to feel bad about enjoying it. I'm going to regret having enjoyed it. I'm going to wish that I hadn't enjoyed it because I want Julie to still be alive. But
it's just
it's
just far too heavy right on the back of other things that have just been equally as heavy, if not worse.
The fact that they've Kevin got a shout out. The fact that there was two characters there, and it's not unlikely.
Cancer.
But the fact that they were made such a big thing of saying, "Hey, we've got two characters that got cancer at the moment on the same show." That's just.
And it wasn't. The other thing about Paul's story is that it was the character that was in the show. They've just brought her in. They just shipped her in to kill her off.
Yeah, I know. Right, Dylan this week. So we only got a tiny bit of Dylan last week, where he was having partaking of some illicit substances with Brody, and that gets
lettuce.
the devil's lettuce. That gets thrown back in his face this week when he finds Brody's true colours. Because you see there's a scene with Daniel and he's trying to compare Shakespeare to The Sopranos.
Are they not a bit young for The Sopranos?
Well, this is what I thought. I've never seen The Sopranos, but I couldn't believe that these are 18-year-olds.
Is this supposed to be Daniel being out of touch but thinking he's a cool teacher?
Probably is, isn't it? But no, they all seem to understand that bit. But yeah, I don't know. Dylan's just basically joining in with all the raucousness that's going on and getting himself a bit of a glare from Mr. Osborne as well.
Daniel thinks he's Michelle Pfeiffer.
He tells Dylan after class, look, you just need to keep your head down. And Dylan says, I know what I'm doing. He thinks he knows what he's doing because he hasn't twigged yet that Brody is just taking him for a ride and manipulating him into...
Not taking advice off a teacher who just comes in. Like, okay, you come here all the time, but you don't know what it's like to be in prison.
No.
You can't give me advice about how to interact with teenagers when you just tried to do a lesson about The Sopranos.
I'm sure that a quite big part of his training is... understanding what it's like for the kids living inside as well. But
if he knew anything about it, he'd understand no one's going to take advice off him, are they? Well, you can't give unsolicited advice to teenage boys at the best of times, let alone when they're in prison and you're the teacher.
So the main drama with this week is Sean being asked, to get a burner phone. He's there with Dylan and saying, I'm really proud of you. But then it's time to go. And one of the Brody bunch make a bit of a kerfuffle on one side of the room so that Brody himself can go over to Sean and be very intimidating against and like, how well, I don't know. It's very easy to make fun of Sean in this situation because he is that much older and maturer and freer than Brody. And it's probably very easy to say, no, I'm not getting you a burner phone, you plonker.
He's not threatening Sean, he's threatening Dylan.
Yeah. And
this whole week was about families, wasn't it? This whole week was about how far you're going to go for your family, where's the line you draw.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah. So Sean, this is obviously brand new to him. Dylan's only just been inside. This is like nothing Sean has experienced before. And he was absolutely terrified and heartbroken, wasn't he, when Dylan was given that custodial sentence. And now what Dylan had feared might happen to him could be happening to him. And he's got what he thinks is a way of getting out of it. But clearly, if Brody had got a phone off Sean, he would have just carried on getting more and more and more, wouldn't he? He's seen the weakness in Dylan and is there to exploit it.
Well, in many ways, it's just the same tired old blackmail story.
There's only so many stories, I think, that you can have with prisons. Somebody's asking somebody to smuggle something into it. You got some people being mean to other people. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how Bad Girls managed to keep going for that many series. Situation. To be honest, a classic.
Well, do you remember Orange Is the New Black?
Yeah. They got, what was that? 4 or 5 series of that. Run out of ideas after that.
They've already done a riot on Corrie, so they can't use that again.
But anyway, Sean doesn't know what to do, and he gets chatting with Daniel about it in the cafe later. And Daniel says, Brody is a repeat offender. He'll move on when he realises he can't get anything out of Dylan. And Sean says, but what if he thinks he can? Daniel says, I will keep a close eye on him. Don't you worry about that. So Sean's made his decision, and at the end of the episode on Monday, he goes into the factory. Dirk's there. Dirk gets a line again, doesn't he?
He gets 2 lines.
I can't remember what he said. Do you remember? It was just a good night or something like that. So I want to know what Dirk was doing late at the factory at night, to be honest. He didn't need to be there. He's not the one... Has he got the keys? Does he lock up at night? Or has he got some secret adventure that he's getting up to? Is he smuggling drugs through the factory? Or sewing labels into counterfeit? Yeah, I'd keep an eye on that Dirk if I were you, Carla.
He's a dark horse.
He's a dark horse. So Sean's got his burner phone. I thought it was odd how Brody asked for a burner phone rather than just a phone, and I don't know whether I'm just being a bit pernickety here, but we know it's a burner phone. But wouldn't you just be asked, say, you got to get me a phone?
Can you imagine if he didn't specify and Sean's at home, like, sitting there in front of his laptop, ordering Brody a phone, going, I don't know what his surname is. What should I put as the address? Is it the prison? And if I get this delivered tomorrow, what are they going to do? Give it to him, like, Or should I take it in? I don't know.
And shall I get him an iPhone 16?
What colour
or shall I just
want?
get one of those new iPhone 16es, the cheap
How much
ones?
storage do I get for him? Or does he have the cloud? Do they have the cloud in prison? I don't know.
Yeah, so he's obviously been to the Carphone warehouse and got their cheapest model that will fit in any orifice. And he's going to bring it along.
Can I have a burner phone, please? How do you order? I don't even know what is a burner phone. I know that it's a not traceable phone, but what do you do? Do you go up to somebody and say, can I have a phone, please? And they say, yes, what's your name? You say, none of your business.
No, I don't know whether you can get like a pay-as-you-go one. We've only ever had contracts, haven't we, on our mobiles? I don't know how it works.
Because I like paying lots of money for nothing.
Yeah. I think you can just get cheap phones, can't you? Because they make them for kids.
I'm going to get one and start harassing people
so that you can't go online with it and stuff.
Oh.
But anyway, he's got this phone and he's told Izzy about it on Wednesday morning. She says, don't be such an idiot. You need to just report Brody. What if next time he wants drugs?
Where are you going to get them from?
Yeah, apparently very easy. Yeah, the ginnel. The ginnel is the place to go for all your druggy needs on Coronation Street. So Sean is momentarily convinced that maybe reporting Brody is the right thing. And when he goes to the prison, he tells Dylan this. He tells him everything. And he says, I'm going to report him on the way out. And Dylan's like, please don't. Let me handle it. I'll be able to sort myself out. Because I think, Dylan's probably terrified, isn't he? That if Sean reports Brody, much like Harvey, he can pull all the strings that he wants. It looks like he's got the... Yeah, it is. It's always... They always incur the wrath of the top dog, don't they? Whether it's Harvey at one prison or Brody at the kiddie prison.
Oh, well, I'll tell you what. This has really worked on me because I've decided not to do any crimes now. Because I don't want to go to prison. It just seems like too much hassle. I think they'd take advantage of my weakness. Aren't you supposed to go in there and just like find the biggest person and just beat them up on the first day?
If I were,
that's what Dylan should have done.
If I was in prison, I think that people got wind of me. They'd just be telling me Corrie spoilers. They go, get your dad to get me some drugs, or otherwise I'm going to tell you what happens to Carla and Lisa next week. And I'm like, no, I don't want to know. I want to watch it.
Did you hear about that? Is Antarctica scientists?
No.
There was a case where one of them stabbed another one because he had found out what books the guy was reading and told him the ending of every single book. And in the end, he stabbed him. I don't think he killed him. But that's the level.
Spoilers are a serious business.
This is why we don't allow spoilers on this show, because someone will get stabbed.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway... Brody later on asked Dylan if his dad's brought him anything, and Dylan's like, well, no. This is how they say, my dad's proper straight, and good line, and it did lead Brody to go, I can't remember what he said. He's like, yeah, right, of course he is. Little homophobic remark from Brody there, just in case we wanted to underline that he's a nasty piece of work.
I can't believe it.
Yeah, but he's like, oh, that's all right then, mate. So he's clearly there is more to come there. So Brody and his mate corner Dylan in his cell later and is like, I'm going to teach you a lesson. And what that consists of is roughing up his room and tearing it apart and getting Dylan to confess that he did it himself, which is what he does to Sean on the phone later. He says, yeah, I smashed up my own room. Sean knows it must have been Brody and says, look, you need to dob him in. Dylan's like, nope, I'm not going down that. I need to stay on this bloke's good side. Mm-hmm. I mean, in a way... This is quite like...
This is exactly what happened with Mason.
I hadn't actually made that comparison before, but it's so painfully obvious, isn't it?
Yes.
Brody is Mason. Dylan wants to... He knows it's wrong.
Is his chance of redemption? Is he going to stand up here? Because the stakes are so much higher now. Because Mason really didn't have as much power over Dylan as he thought he did.
Well, he did have a zombie knife.
Think about the difference in power here between Brody and Mason. Dylan can't escape Brody.
Yeah, 24 hours he's there.
He's stuck there with him. And Brody also is, proven himself to be a villain because he's in the prison.
But I
don't know what he's there for.
Has at least experience of what he went through with Mason made Dylan think, if I can stick this out, some other poor sap is going to be the new boy in the prison before long.
I don't think he's got any noble thoughts whatsoever about saving another boy. I think he's literally...
No, I don't think saving another boy. There's going to be another. There's going to be another boy that comes in, and then I'm going to be initiated into the Brody bunch myself, and I'll be off the hook, and he'll go after him. I just need to accept the beatings or room wreckings until that comes along.
He hasn't learned a lesson really, but how could you? What could he do differently?
Yeah.
And I don't think
what would
many
happen to Brody?
people
What would happen to Brody if Dylan did report him? I don't know.
Nothing. I don't think anything would happen.
Anyway, Brody's in Dylan's cell when he comes back to it later, and he says, Brody's like, I'm going to give your dad a second chance. I need that phone. Actually, thank you very much. By the way, mate, I did cover for you about that spliff last week, didn't I? And so, again, he's just got Dylan around his little finger. Sean, meanwhile, is telling Izzy,
don't tell Izzy.
I'm going to go with the phone plan. I've got no choice.
I'm going to go with the top plan, £30 a month.
How did you find this story this week?
Okay.
It didn't take up too much of my brain space, to be fair.
I can see what's happening. Yeah. It's fine.
It feels like it's something that we've seen before. I love Sean, but it's fine. It was a nice bit of neutral ground in amongst all the high drama of Robin pointing a gun in somebody's face. It was all right, but we didn't really need another prison story, did we?
It's the trouble with Coronation Street being on 6 episodes a week, is that we're just going through stories so quickly. You know, we're just repeating the same old thing again because we've got to fill the wood chipper up. You know.
We had a little bit of Daisy on Monday, didn't we? A bit of the end to that story.
Right. So Daisy and Daniel. You know, she's still grieving, and he wonders if there's something that they could do to help her process her loss to grieve the baby.
And Kit as well.
Yeah. So Daisy goes to see Kit and says, I'm going to have a memorial this afternoon. Will you come? And he says, I'm not sure. I don't know. And she seems quite disappointed. She
wants some closure as much as you can get it on it. And I think, she wants him to...
Well, she feels like it would be meaningful if he was there. Why that is you know, whatever is in her head. Yeah. But Daniel finds her lighting candles at the back of the Rovers, and he puts a little teddy down and tells Daisy that she needs to do whatever comes naturally to grieve. And she says that she feels like she changed when she got pregnant, and then now the baby has died and she doesn't know what to do with herself. Like, she's completely changed forever. And
she felt that her life was going to be completely different from that point on, and now she's like, well, what have I got left now? Yeah.
So then we get Lou and Mick come around and see them doing this.
Oh, you said that you saw Lou giving a look at the candles, and I meant to rewatch it, but I didn't.
Lou did look, and I think she twigged what was happening, but Mick didn't. Mick was too busy being an arsehole.
Lou's definitely the one that's got a bit more of a heart out of those two, isn't she? I think there's a bit more compassion in her soul.
Well, it makes you think that she might have experienced something herself.
Possibly.
But anyway, so Daisy and Daniel go to the back of the room, and they cuddle on the sofa, and Daisy's still a bit upset that Kid didn't come. But he goes out the back of the Rovers to Kit later by himself, under the smoking shelter, and Daisy finds him, and she says, I know you're grieving too. You didn't have it in your belly, but you had it in your head, and it was taken away. And he says, I don't want to talk about it. And she says, you can cry if you want to, nobody's going to stop you. And she goes inside and he walks off by himself.
Yeah,
He's like a lone wolf.
I think he is grieving in his own way.
This makes me think that he's going to explode on somebody. Because he's bottling this all up. He's got no outlet at all. He's not letting himself be vulnerable. And why would he either? Because Daisy hasn't picked him.
No.
Daisy's picked Daniel. Not that he ever really thought that there was anything, you know... It still must sting though. He's alone.
Yeah, and this has all been such a roller coaster for him, because at first he didn't want the baby, he didn't want anything to do with it, and then he did, and just then he's coming around to the idea the baby's gone. So yeah, I'd say he's got nobody can find him, but he does. He's got Bernie, but yeah, he doesn't really seem to be the sort of person to me that wants to be open with their feelings. I don't know. So finally, we had the little Debbie story, and we got the beginnings of it on Monday when she has the little spat with Eileen. But what that turns into on Wednesday is more drama at the hotel when the electrics are gone. And Raphael, who was Raphael supposed to be? Was it the chef?
Some kind of handyman, I thought. Well,
Ed is the handy. No, they mentioned it. They did mention it in the script. I can't remember what. Oh, Ed had a doctor's appointment. I remember. And but she's going there. Raphael, sort it out. The electrics are gone. And so she's in a flat there when Mick turns up, because Mick's an electrician. There we go. That's his job gonna be, turning up and fixing people's lights. So maybe there will be a bit of rivalry between Mick and Ed, because I'd say that Ed's probably pretty handy with his with the spark. I was going to say with the spark plug, but that's cars. That shows what I know. I don't know what I'm talking about. So yeah, Mick is there and he's going to get it sorted. But when she returns back from lunch with Ronnie later, he says, "But I found out that this was a planned power outage. You must have got an email saying from the council or whoever that there was going to be a power cut." And Deb, or the electricity board or whatever. And Debbie's like, "I certainly did not." And so then he gives her a bill for his £300 call-out fee, which she refuses to pay. And so now she's made herself another enemy. Which bit of it?
Well, the fact that, like, me personally, I'd take that on the chin and say, that was my own stupid fault. I acknowledge that there was a £300 call-out fee when I phoned you, and I'm not going to stiff you on it because that was the agreed rate. But on the other hand,
a fighter, isn't
he did turn up and do absolutely nothing, really. But, you know, this is the other thing about it. Somebody is skilled. You don't pay them £300 for turning up and doing work. You pay them £300 for working out what's wrong. You pay them £300 for the experience of that led him to look on the internet and say, "Oh, there's an outage."
Mick was totally in his rights to claim that money.
He wasn't being nice about it, but the thing about being a tradesman is that people do this to you all the time. Yeah, people are always trying to get out of it. They're always saying, you know, "Oh no, I'm not paying you," or "not paying you on time," and you're not gonna be nice when you've been your whole career spent arguing with people.
No, Debbie's got a business head on her, so she's also probably very well experienced with people trying to pull the wool over her eyes and trying to fleece
she's a woman, you know, a woman who has an eccentric look about her. A lot of people probably don't take her seriously because of how flamboyant she appears. Like, she looks like she's an idiot. Oh, because she's got silly earrings, she'll pay me £300.
Yeah, but she's also probably a little bit embarrassed for being... She said that she didn't see the email, and she's had a few things recently, hasn't she? Where people have told her one thing and she says, "No, that's not how I remember it." So she's probably getting even more defensive, and that's why it's coming out like this.
Why people keep saying things.
Yeah. But anyway, at the end of the day, she tried to give him a little bit of it later, I think. Yeah, she decides she's only going to give him half the money, and Mick's like, "You made a big mistake here, missus." And Ronnie has to see him out before things get even uglier there. So, yeah.
I think Ronnie is a bit kind of annoyed with Debbie.
Yeah, I think that he would have rather she'd have just paid it all.
I think it is completely out of order to call someone out and then refuse to pay them because it was an easy fix.
Yeah.
Fix it yourself then.
Yeah. Okay, so that was this week in Coronation Street. My overall impressions, I think I was quite pleased. I was relieved that we didn't have any kind of Platt stuff, and that doesn't really sound like me, but because it was all gangsters, I was just getting a little bit tired of it. It was getting somewhat heavy, and it was nice to have a breather from it.
I liked the breather that we got with the hostage situation, the prison blackmailing, and the terminal cancer storylines.
You know what I mean.
Oh, and the miscarriage.
It was tragedy all round from everybody else.
And
but
the baby.
I was pleased to have a little bit of
the drug addict
reprieve from this little.
Who's now homeless.
I really enjoyed Rob and Tracy.
Oh my god!
Obviously, really enjoyed Rob and Tracy. The Cassie stuff was great. I enjoyed seeing Julie, but I don't think there was a whole lot that really, really got me like, "Oh, this is amazing, this is brilliant." Apart from maybe some of the moments between Tracy and Rob, and actually, no, that Evelyn was really.
There was some great drama,
wasn't she? Yeah.
Right. What I feel like. You and I are very much like frogs in a pot sometimes. And this is what we're like in our life too. Both of us. We put up with a lot of stuff before we do something about it. And I know that lots of people at the moment are saying, "I don't like Corrie, I can't watch it anymore, I've given up on it, this is the last straw." There's always some line that has been crossed on social media. There's always somebody new saying, "This is my final outrage. I'm not watching it anymore because X, Y, Z." And we don't really have like, number one, there's no I'm never going to get out of this. I'm watching it till it ends or I die. So from that perspective, I'm kind of,
or I do.
Yeah, one can hope. but like, when you step out sometimes and look and give it an overview of like what the hell is going on in this show in a week, it's absolutely bonkers. And I don't feel like we can step out that much because we're so bogged down every week in what's, all the details and what's happened. We don't really look an overview, and what I just summarised there was just miserable, really. It is the strength of the characters and the actors who play them at the moment that's making me enjoy watching it.
Yeah, if this was happening to people I didn't care about.
The storylines are getting insane. And I don't know whether it's because it's been continuous. It's like Chinese water torture. It's been continuous, and now it's got to me, or if it actually is getting worse. Can you see? I don't know if I've been eroded by the passage of time or what, but I'm starting to kind of feel the same way as a lot of people are going. How much craziness can we really cram into a week? Do we really need to have so many high stakes stories? Do we really need 7 things where it's life and death in every single one? I don't think we do. I think it's okay if maybe there's a story about a budgie, or maybe there's a story about somebody painting somebody, maybe there's a story about somebody's boat is in their garden and they're annoyed by it, maybe a gnome goes missing.
Neighbourly dispute, yeah.
Maybe, I don't know.
I know what you mean.
I feel like I'm going to get a stomach ulcer.
I wasn't watching this week going, oh my gosh, this is depressing, this is so boring.
No, I don't think
I recognised that it was dark, but it didn't bother me too much. But yeah, on the other hand, I wasn't going, oh, this is amazing, more of this, please. I'm gonna.
But I think I feel the same way, but it's because I don't take it seriously anymore. Like I've kind of detached myself mentally, because you have to. You can't live in this misery forever. This is a choice I'm making, even though I just said it wasn't a choice. But we are making a choice to watch this, so I can't be engaged in it in the same way.
What's your score, darling? What are you giving it?
3 big milky eggs.
Ooh, 3 big milky eggs out of 5. I think I might go 3.5. I'm going to give it 3.5 more fingers than Cassie normally sees out of 5.
She's been making AI pictures.
yeah. That was a funny. That was Roy saying how many fingers am I holding up, and she's like, more than I usually do. He held up 3 fingers, and she says 1 more than I usually see, because people are usually making very rude gestures at her. So 3.5 more fingers than Cassie normally sees out of 5 for me.
Who's the character of the week for you, Michael?
It's Rob this week.
Me too.
It's old Chasen Donovan himself. I didn't think that. As I say, after his first appearance, or reappearance a couple of weeks ago, I was like, oh, I'm not quite buying him here. But yeah, those scenes were very well acted. I thought that the script really helped. He was the character out of everybody that, you know, when the storyline switched back to the adventures of Tracy and Rob, I was like, oh yeah, great, little bit more of this. Evelyn was close. Cassie could have been up there. Julie was wonderful. Brian, sometimes I really have not got the time and the patience for Brian, but when he's not being stupid, when he's being serious and a good friend like he was today, absolutely brilliant.
But right, okay, we kind of do rag on a bit on the silly characters like Kirk and Mary and Brian and things, but I do feel bad for them, because it is a bit like, I'm trying to think of an unoffensive metaphor here, but I can't think of anything. It's like somebody juggling at a concentration camp. It's like, I don't have time for this. Other things are happening. Can you stop being stupid? Yeah. She's gonna die. He's got cancer. She's lost her baby. I don't have time for Mary screaming about her teeth falling out as a comedy aside through a letterbox. I've got a gun to my head. It's not funny.
Yeah, no, you're right.
I'd have so much more time, and I'd be a bit more amenable to these characters' silliness if it wasn't just high stakes drama all the time. But
it feels like it's putting a little plaster over a massive chasm, isn't it? Saying, don't worry, we've still got classic horror comedy here. Mary delivers it. You don't know,
but then again, on the other hand, Debbie is continuously delightful.
Yeah.
So there is room for it, but there's a certain sort of zaniness that comes with some of these characters that just does not fit anymore.
We also did have the Pokemon line again, which I just want to give another shout out to. Actual made me laughness this week. Who did you said Rob was your character of the week as well, did you? There we go. We managed to come to an agreement on characters, even if our score was half a point apart.
There is a reason why there's not a comic relief character in Schindler's List. Is all I'm saying. It just wouldn't work. Right. That'll do for Street Talk, I think, for this week. I couldn't think of anything else to say.
It's all right.